Hey, hello there. Tonight you're not in your bed. You're somewhere else. The air is thick with dust, the kind that coats the back of your throat and never seems to leave. It's hot. The sun isn't just a light in the sky. It's a weight pressing down on you. You think you know ancient Egypt, a land of golden pharaohs and majestic gods. Forget the stories you've heard. By the end of this journey, you'll understand that survival here wasn't about pleasing gods. It was about moving stones. What time is it? Where you are, I'd love to know where you're listening from. And if you enjoy these quiet dives into the past, maybe hit subscribe. It means more than you know. Now dim the lights. Let your body sink into the mattress. You're not in control anymore. You're in a story. And this story doesn't care if you're tired. You wake up on a reed mat on the packed earth floor. The first thing you feel isn't the morning light, but the familiar ache in your back. An old friend that never leaves. This room is your entire world. There is no bedroom, no living room. There is only the room, a single space you share with your parents, your siblings, and perhaps a goat the family keeps. Furniture is a luxury you don't have save for a few low stools and woven baskets for your belongings. High on the wall, a small slit serves as a window, offering no glass, only a sliver of sky, and an open invitation to dust and the occasional curious pigeon. The roof is flat, made of mud and reeds. On the hottest nights, your family might climb up to sleep there, searching for a rare breeze off the Nile. But most of the time, you are crowded inside. The smell of smoke from the hearth of sweat of leftover food and of the household animals all blends together, creating the unmistakable perfume of life. You can hear your neighbors arguing through the thin mud brick wall. A dog barks at the edge of the village, the sound of women starting the cooking fires. This is the symphony of the morning. It isn't melodious, but it is real. This is home. And today is just another ordinary day. Or so you thought. Breakfast is a hunk of dark barley bread. It's dense and tough, and you chew it slowly, feeling the tiny bits of grit from the grinding stones between your teeth. You do not eat alone. The family huddles on the floor, mostly in silence. A silence born not of ceremony, but of the simple fact that there is little to say when every day is the same as the last. To help the bread go down, you have a cup of beer. But this is not the crisp golden ale you might imagine. Egyptian beer is thick, cloudy, and slightly sour, more like a liquid porridge than a refreshing drink. But it is full of calories, and more importantly, it is safe. The water of the Nile can bring life, but it can also bring sickness. The beer, at least, was boiled in its making. Even the children drink it. If you are lucky, there are a few onions or a small portion of stewed lentils from the night before. Meat is a distant dream reserved for festivals or the favor of a particular god. You eat quickly, not because you're in a hurry, but because work is waiting. Breakfast is not for pleasure. It is fuel. Fuel for a long day of labor under a burning sun. As you step outside, you pass a small niche carved into the wall of your home. Inside rests a small clay figure of Bees, the dwarf-like god Ugly, but a fierce protector of the family and of children. You give a quick nod. You don't ask for riches. You ask only that the day passes without a broken bone, that you avoid a priest curse, and that your family's goat doesn't wander off. Religion is not something kept in the grand temples you will never enter. It is here in every breath. It is the belief in Ma'at, the cosmic principle of order, truth, and balance. Everything must exist in Ma'at. The Nile flooding on schedule is Ma'at. A good harvest is Ma'at. The pharaoh ruling justly is Ma'at. And your work, whether as a farmer or a craftsman, is part of maintaining Ma'at. You labor not just to feed your family, but to keep the universe from collapsing into chaos. It is a heavy burden, but it is also a comfort. Your suffering at least has a purpose. You believe the gods are watching and that the pharaoh, the living embodiment of the god Horus, guides all. Your existence is small, but it is a thread in a great cosmic tapestry. And then one morning, the ordinary breaks. A man carrying a papyrus scroll walks into your village. He is not from here. His clothes are cleaner. His posture radiates authority. He is an overseer for the pharaoh. He does not say much. He simply unrolls the scroll and reads aloud. His voice echoes through the now silent village. The pharaoh, the living god, son of Ra, is building a tomb for his journey into eternity. a pyramid, a structure that will touch the gods, and he requires hands. Your name is called, not as an invitation. As a command, you have been chosen. This is the corvée, a tax paid not in grain but in sweat and muscle, usually during the season of etched, when the Nile floods the fields, and farming is impossible. The sun hits the scroll like it's made of gold leaf, but the words written on it are heavy as stone. There is no choice. To defy the pharaoh's command is to defy the gods. Your wife looks at you. Her eyes are not crying, but they are filled with a silence heavier than tears. You hold your children. You do not know when you will see them again. It could be months. It could be never. Your journey is about to begin. Away from the village, the river, and everything you have ever known. You are going to a place of only sandstone and the shadow of a great monument slowly taking shape. You are no longer a farmer. You are now a builder of the pyramids. The journey is not measured in miles, but in footsteps. Each one is a tiny separation from the world you knew, a step further away from the soft, dark earth of the riverbank and deeper into the pale, unforgiving expanse of the desert. You walk in a long, shuffling line of men, a silent river of bodies flowing towards the horizon. You carry a small sack holding a few pieces of bread and perhaps an onion. Your water skin, filled this morning from the village well, is already warm against your back, a dwindling treasure. The landscape changes slowly, then, all at once. The familiar green of the reeds and palms fades behind you, replaced by low, rolling hills of sand and scrub. The sun is different here. Without the river's haze, it feels sharper, whiter. It beats down on the back of your neck, a physical presence that promises no relief. There is no shade. There are no landmarks. There is only the line of men in front of you, and the dust kicked up by their bare feet. You do not talk much. The energy is needed for walking. The men around you are strangers, their faces etched with the same stoic resignation as your own. They are from other villages, other families, but you are all now brothers in this silent pilgrimage. You are the pharaoh's hands, the corvée, the labor tax paid in sweat and muscle during the season of etched, when the Nile's flood makes farming impossible. You are not a slave, but you are not free. You are a citizen, and this is your duty. A duty that feels heavier with every step. After days that blur into one another, you see it. It does not rise from the ground so much as it commands the horizon. At first, it's a faint triangular silhouette, a mirage shimmering in the heat, a mountain perhaps. But as you draw closer, the shape sharpens. It is not a work of nature. It is a work of will. A vast stepped pyramid, its sides impossibly smooth, reaching towards the sky like a spear of stone. And beside it, the foundations of another, even larger structure are being laid. This is Giza, and the sight is overwhelming. The air, once filled with the desert's vast silence, now thickens with a low, constant roar, the sound of thousands of men, the grinding of stone, the distant shouts of command. You have seen temples, you have seen villages, but this is a city built for the dead by the living. A city of labor, of order, and of a scale that makes you feel like a single grain of sand. You follow the line of men towards this sprawling chaos. Your journey from home has ended. You are not led to the base of the rising pyramid, not yet. First you must go to the place where the pyramid is born. You are marched to a place that feels like a wound in the earth itself, the limestone quarry. It is a vast, blindingly white pit, carved into the plateau in a series of descending terraces. Under the glare of the sun, the white stone reflects a heat so intense it makes your eyes water. And everywhere, on every level, there are men. They are small against the scale of the rock, dark figures moving in a slow, brutal rhythm. They are covered in a fine white powder, a mixture of limestone dust and their own dried sweat, until they look like ghosts haunting a pale, silent hell. The sound hits you next. It is not one sound, but 1,000. It is the high-pitched, relentless chink-chink-chink of copper chisels against stone. It is the dull, heavy thud of wooden mallets striking the chisels. It is the deep, groaning crack of a massive block of stone breaking free from the quarry wall. It is the rhythmic chanting of work gangs as they haul sledges. And over it all, the sharp, cutting shouts of the overseers. The noise is a physical force. It presses in on you, making it impossible to think impossible, to hear your own breath. This is the sound of a mountain being dismantled by hand. An overseer, his skin darker and his voice louder than anyone you've ever met, shoves you into a work gang. He doesn't use your name. He points, he grunts, he hands you two things that will define your existence, a copper chisel and a wooden mallet. The chisel feels soft, almost useless in your hand. The mallet is just a heavy lump of wood, crudely shaped. You look at the wall of solid limestone in front of you, a sheer cliff face that seems to stretch on forever. And you are meant to break it. With these, you find a spot next to a man who doesn't acknowledge you. His face is a mask of dust, his eyes focused only on the stone. His movements are mechanical, hypnotic. Strike, turn, the chisel, strike again. He has been doing this for a long time. His body is a testament to the work, muscles in his arms, like rope, a permanent stoop in his back. You heft the mallet, place the chisel against the rock, and strike. The sound is pathetic, a tiny, insignificant tap, swallowed by the roar around you. But you do it again, and again. The stone does not yield. It mocks you. Welcome to the quarry. Your first lesson is one of humility. The stone is eternal. You are not. Your life is now a conversation with stone, and your words are the tools in your hands. They are simple, they are crude, and they are unforgiving. Your primary weapon against the mountain is the copper chisel. In a world of bronze and the coming age of iron, you are given copper. It is the best metal widely available, but it is heartbreakingly soft. You learn this quickly. After an hour of hammering, the sharp edge of your chisel is a dull, rounded nub. It can no longer bite into the limestone. It just skids off the surface with a useless screech. You must take it to the forge. There, a blacksmith, a man just as weary as you but surrounded by heat instead of dust, will hammer it back into a point. This becomes a constant rhythm of your day. Work, blunt, wait, repeat. You spend as much time in line at the forge as you do at the rock face. Your hammer is a mallet of acacia wood. It is heavy, yes, but its weight is a clumsy brute force. There is no balance, no ergonomic design. You learn to swing from your shoulder using your entire body to drive the chisel because your arm alone would give out by mid-morning. The shock of each impact travels up the wood into your hands, your wrists, your elbows. A dull, percussive pain that will become the background music of your life. At night, you will still feel the phantom vibrations in your bones. For harder stone, like the granite used for the inner chambers of the pyramid, the copper chisel is useless. For this, you are given a ball of dolerite. It is a dense igneous rock, heavier and harder than granite itself. There is no handle. You hold the rough stone in your hands and pound it directly against the granite wall. It is not carving. It is a geological process of erosion, done one man-powered impact at a time. For every inch of progress you deliver 1,000 blows. Your hands are cut, your knuckles bloody. But slowly, grain by grain, the granite gives way. But the most ingenious tool is the one that uses nature against itself. To break a truly massive block free, your work gang must first carve a series of deep grooves into the rock. This alone can take days. Then you hammer in dry wooden wedges, fitting them tightly into the channels you've made, and then you wait, and you pour water. The wood thirsts. It drinks, and it swells, expanding with a silent, inexorable power that the stone cannot resist. You learn to listen for the sound, a low, deep groan that shudders through the rock, followed by the sharp, terrifying crack as a block weighing several tons breaks free. It is a moment of awe and terror. The mountain has yielded. But now, the real work moving it begins. Your life is not governed by the sun alone. It is governed by a number, a quota. Every work gang, every file as they are called, has a target to meet by the end of the day. So many blocks cut, so many sledges moved, so much earth packed onto the ramp. This quota is not a suggestion. It is a promise you are forced to make to the pharaoh and the gods every single morning. The overseer's shadow is long in the morning sun. He carries no tools, only a staff and a papyrus scroll. On that scroll, a scribe has recorded the names of your gang, the tally of your work, and your failures. The scribe is a man apart. His hands are clean. His linen is white. He does not sweat. He merely observes his pen scratching against the papyrus, recording your existence into a ledger of labor. He's more powerful than any man with a whip, for he is the keeper of your record, the judge of your worth. The pressure of the quota is a silent weight heavier than any stone. You learn to work without pause. Your breaks are short, just long enough to gulp down some water and eat a handful of bread before the overseer's gaze falls upon you. You feel his eyes on your back, measuring your every movement. Is your swing strong enough? Is your pace fast enough? The men in your gang become a single organism, a creature of shared muscle and breath. You learn to anticipate each other's movements, to pull in unison, to strike in rhythm, all driven by the relentless need to meet the day's number. Sometimes work gangs compete. They leave their mark, a splash of red ochre graffiti on the side of a block they've quarried, a symbol of their pride. The drunkards of Menkare, or the friends of Khufu. A small act of identity in a world that seeks to erase it. It is a competition born of pride, but also of fear. The gang that finishes first might receive an extra ration of beer. The gang that falls behind receives only the overseer's cold stare and perhaps the sting of his staff. You see what happens to those who cannot keep up. A man stumbles from exhaustion. He is pulled from the line, his place taken by another. He will receive no food for the day. If it happens again, he may be sent to a less desirable task, or worse, be sent away entirely. There is no room for weakness. The pyramid does not wait for tired men. It is a hungry god, and its appetite is measured in stone. And so you work your mind empty of all but the number. The quota is not just a target. It is your heartbeat, your prayer, your reason for drawing one more dusty breath. The sun in Egypt is not a gentle warmth. It is a physical force, an entity with a will of its own. And its will is to crush you. By mid-morning, the limestone of the quarry has become a vast white furnace, reflecting the heat back into your face until your skin feels tight and scorched. There is no escape. The slivers of shade cast by the rock walls are small and fleeting, and they shrink as the sun climbs higher. Your body weeps water. Sweat pours from you, stinging your eyes and soaking your linen loincloth until it clings to your skin. But you barely notice because a deeper thirst has begun to consume you, a dryness that starts in your throat and spreads to your entire being. Your lips crack, your tongue feels thick and heavy in your mouth. You dream of the Nile, of cool, dark water, of the simple luxury of a full water skin. Water is rationed here. It is brought in large clay jars by water-bearers, boys too young or men too old for the heavy lifting. They walk the lines, pouring a small, measured amount into your cupped hands or your simple clay cup. You drink it slowly, letting it wet your throat before swallowing, trying to make the moment last. It is warm and tastes of clay and dust, but it is life. It is the most precious thing on the plateau. Sometimes the water runs low. The bearers are delayed, and the space between drinks grows longer. You begin to feel the sun's victory. A dull ache forms behind your eyes. The world begins to shimmer and sway at the edges. You see men stumble, their legs giving way beneath them. They are carried to the side, to what passes for a medical tent, where they are laid in the shade and have water poured over them. Some recover, some do not. You learn the subtle signs of the sun's poison. You learn to conserve your every movement, to breathe shallowly, to never waste a drop of energy. You watch the older men. They work at a slower, steadier pace. They know that speed burns you out, that the sun preys on the reckless. The heat is a test, another overseer. It watches you, waits for you to falter. Surviving the day is not just about moving stone. It is about outlasting the sky. And as you lift your mallet for another swing, your body screaming for water, you send a silent prayer not to the pharaoh, but to the coming of dusk. The block is free, a raw multi-ton beast of limestone, silent and immense. Your work in the quarry is done. Now you must make it move. This is a task not of individuals, but of a collective. The block is levered onto a massive wooden sledge, a platform of sycamore fig, a wood that is strong but yielding. Thick ropes woven from papyrus reeds or palm fibers are looped around the stone and the sledge. The ropes are rough against your skin. You have wrapped your hands in scraps of linen to keep them from bleeding, but the friction still burns. Your work gang, 20, 40, sometimes more than 100 men lines up along the ropes. You are no longer stonecutters. You are now a single, unified muscle. An overseer stands atop the block, holding a staff. He does not shout commands randomly. He chants. It is a rhythmic, guttural sound, a call and response that sets the pace. Heave and rest, heave and rest. His chant is the pulse of the machine. At his signal you lean into the rope. Your feet dig into the sand. Your back and legs scream in protest. For a moment, nothing happens. The stone is a piece of the mountain. It does not want to move. The strain is immense. You feel the muscles in your back tremble on the verge of tearing. Then slowly, with a deep, groaning shudder that you feel in your teeth, the sledge begins to slide. The progress is agonizingly slow, mere inches at a time. A man at the front of the sledge pours water onto the sand just ahead of the runners. You learn this is a kind of magic. The wet sand reduces the friction, a discovery of some forgotten genius that makes the impossible merely brutal. Without it, the sledge would sink. With it, it glides reluctantly. You pull together. The chant of the overseer becomes your own breath. You stop thinking. You stop feeling. You are only a part of the rope, a part of the rhythm. A man stumbles. The line falters. The overseer's staff cracks against his back. He scrambles back to his feet. There is no room for error. A broken rhythm means a stalled block, and a stalled block is a failure. You haul the stone from the quarry to the staging area at the base of the rising pyramid. The journey might take hours, or even days depending on the size of the block. By the time you arrive, your body is a single, throbbing ache. Your hands are raw. Your throat is hoarse from the dust and the chanting. You have not built anything yet. You have only moved one piece of the puzzle. And as you look up at the towering structure, you see that there are thousands more pieces to move, thousands more journeys to make. The stone has been moved from the quarry, but its journey is far from over. It must now climb. And to climb, it needs a road to the heavens built by human hands. This is the ramp. It is not made of stone, but of something more common and more temporary, earth rubble and clay. Day after day, your work shifts from cutting stone to building the path that will carry it. You haul baskets of desert sand gravel and chunks of limestone debris. You pack it down layer by layer, using water to bind the mixture until it is hard and stable. The ramp grows with the pyramid, a long, sloping spine of packed earth rising from the desert floor. It is a monument in its own right, a temporary mountain built to raise a permanent one. Walking on it is a treacherous task. The surface is uneven, a mixture of loose gravel and hardened gypsum plaster that can be slick underfoot. There are no handrails, no safety ropes, only the steep, unending incline ahead of you. You watch the teams of men begin their slow, agonizing ascent, hauling the massive stone sledges up the slope. The angle is gentle, but the weight is immense. It is a battle against gravity itself. You see the strain in the men's faces, the muscles in their legs, and backs corded like tight ropes. Their feet slip. The sledge groans. For a terrifying moment, it might slide backward, threatening to crush the entire line of men behind it. But it holds. The overseer's chant grows louder, more urgent, and the men find another surge of strength pulling the stone another few feet upward. The higher the pyramid grows, the longer and steeper the ramp becomes. It snakes around the structure, a winding road of grit and sweat. You lose sight of the ground. The world below becomes a distant map of sand and smaller buildings. The wind is stronger up here. It whips dust into your eyes and threatens to steal your balance. You learn not to look down. You learn to trust the man in front of you and the rhythm of the pull. At the end of the day, you descend the ramp, your legs trembling with exhaustion. You look back at the work. The ramp is a scar on the face of the desert, a testament to 1,000,000 small efforts, 1,000,000 baskets of dirt, 1,000,000 tired footsteps. It will not last. Once the pyramid is complete, the ramp will be dismantled, its earth scattered back to the winds, leaving no trace of its existence. Only the pyramid will remain. You have spent a year of your life building a road that is destined to disappear. The work is dangerous. You know this not because someone warned you, but because you see it every day. Death is not a distant concept on the plateau. It is a co-worker. It is a constant quiet presence that walks beside you in the dust. You learn to recognize the sounds of disaster, the sharp snapping crack of a rope giving way under too much strain. It is a sound that makes your stomach clench, followed by a moment of sickening silence, and then the shouts of alarm. You see the heavy sledge once held by 100 men, now sliding backward down the ramp, gaining speed, its multi-ton weight unstoppable. The men in its path scramble, but some are not fast enough. You don't look. You don't need to. The sound of stone meeting bone is one you will never forget. In the quarry, it is the unpredictable nature of the rock. A hidden fissure, a flaw in the limestone can cause a block to split at the wrong moment, sending shards of stone flying like shrapnel. A man loses an eye. Another has his hand crushed. There is no time to mourn. The overseer simply calls for the next man in line. The work does not stop. There is a place for the injured, a kind of medical tent, where healers, priests of Sekhmet perhaps do what they can. They are skilled at setting bones. Archaeologists would one day find your brethren's skeletons, showing evidence of healed fractures set with a precision that speaks of practice. They know how to stitch wounds and apply poultices of honey and herbs to ward off infection. But their magic is limited. For the worst injuries, a crushed chest, a severed limb, there is little they can do, but offer a prayer and a cup of beer to dull the pain. You become accustomed to the sight of men being carried away on simple wooden stretchers. You learn their names one week, and the next they are gone. Their space in the barracks is empty for a night, and then filled by a new arrival from a distant village. No one speaks of them for long. To dwell on the dead is to invite their fate. You develop a sixth sense for danger. You learn to listen to the groan of the ropes, to watch the balance of the stone, to feel the stability of the ground beneath your feet. You are careful, you are vigilant, but you know that care is not enough. The pyramid demands a price, and that price is paid in blood and bone. Every stone set in place is a monument to those who lifted it and to those who fell. You are a tool of the state, and a tool must be maintained. Your wages are not paid in coin, but in calories. Every day the pharaoh's bakeries and breweries work without pause to feed the thousands of men on the plateau. It is a logistical miracle, an empire of food production dedicated to fueling an empire of stone. At the end of your shift, you are given your rations. The foundation of every meal is bread, not the fine white bread of the nobles, but a dense, dark loaf made from emmer wheat or barley. It is baked in large clay pots, and you are given a portion that is heavy in your hands. It is your primary source of energy, your most reliable comfort. It still has grit in it, but you are used to that now. It is the taste of survival. With the bread comes beer. It is thick and nutritious, a cloudy porridge-like liquid that is more food than drink. It is not for getting drunk, it is for staying alive. The fermentation process makes it safer than most water sources, and it is rich in the yeast and grains that your body needs to keep going. You drink it with every meal. And there are vegetables. The Greek historian Herodotus would later write that he saw inscriptions detailing the vast quantities of radishes, onions, and garlic consumed by the workers. You see why. These pungent vegetables are believed to provide strength and ward off sickness. You eat them raw, their sharp, clean taste, a welcome break from the monotony of bread and dust. Sometimes there is more. A stew of lentils or beans, dried fish from the Nile, salted and strong. Meat is rare, a luxury reserved for festival days, or as a reward for a particularly difficult task. When it comes, it is a celebration. A piece of roasted goat or ox savored slowly. For a brief moment, you eat like a man, not just a worker. You eat with your work gang, sitting on the ground outside your barracks. The food is simple, but it is yours. It is the fuel that will allow you to wake up tomorrow and do it all again. It is a reminder that the pharaoh, in his divine wisdom, understands a simple truth. A pyramid cannot be built by starving men. And so he feeds you, just enough, always just enough, to keep the great work moving forward. You are a well-oiled part of a divine machine, and this is your daily fuel. The machine of the pyramid has many parts, and you are one of the smallest. But every machine needs a minder, and yours is the overseer, the I cat. He is not a noble. He is not a priest. He is a man who was once like you, but who has risen through the ranks through sheer will skill, or perhaps cruelty. He is the bridge between the world of the scribes with their clean hands and papyrus scrolls and your world of dust, sweat, and stone. He walks through the quarry with a confidence that borders on arrogance. His linen is still rough, but it is cleaner than yours. He carries a wooden staff, not as a weapon but as a symbol of his authority. He uses it to point to measure and sometimes to deliver a sharp, stinging blow to the back of a man who is not pulling his weight. You learn to recognize the sound of his staff tapping against the rock, a sound that makes you stand a little straighter, pull a little harder. He knows the stone. He can look at a quarry face and see the hidden cracks, the weaknesses. He knows the most efficient way to cut the right angle for a lever, the precise amount of water to swell a wooden wedge. You may resent his power, but you are forced to respect his knowledge. He is a master of this brutal craft. He does not speak in full sentences. His language is one of grunts, sharp commands, and a vocabulary of curses that could make a god blush. He knows the name of your work gang, the vigorous gang, or the enduring gang, but he does not know your name. You are a body, a pair of hands, a unit of labor. When he looks at you, he does not see a man with a family in a distant village. He sees a tool that must perform its function. The fear he inspires is not just of physical punishment. It is the fear of failure. He is the one who reports to the scribes. He is the one who decides if your gang has met its quota. His approval means another day of rations. His displeasure means hunger, shame, and the threat of being sent to a more punishing task. He is the king of this small, dusty kingdom of labor, and his laws are simple: work, obey, and do not slow down. You learn to read his moods by the way he holds his staff by the set of his jaw. You learn to become invisible when his anger rises, and to work your hardest when his eyes fall upon you. He is your master, your teacher, and your tormentor, all wrapped in one sun-beaten man, as the sun sets, casting long, cool shadows across the plateau. You do not return to your home. Your village is a memory. Your home now is a sprawling, organized city of labor built at the foot of the pyramids. The Greeks would later call it a camp of slaves, but it is not. It is Hayit el-Ghurab, a planned settlement built by the state to house, feed, and manage the workforce that builds the tombs of gods. You live in a long, gallery-like building that serves as a barracks. You sleep on a raised platform of mud brick, shoulder to shoulder, with dozens of other men from your gang. There is no privacy. The air is thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, the sound of men coughing in the dust-filled air, and the low murmur of conversations in different dialects from all corners of Egypt. This is your new family, a brotherhood forged not by blood, but by shared exhaustion and the common goal of seeing the next sunrise. The village is a marvel of organization. There are massive bakeries working day and night, producing thousands of loaves of bread to feed the army of workers. There are breweries providing the thick, nutritious beer that serves as both food and drink. There are workshops for repairing tools, infirmaries for the injured, and quarters for the overseers, and scribes set apart from your own. You see evidence of a life beyond labor. Men play games of senet, scratching boards into the dirt, or stone using pebbles as pieces to pass the time. Someone plays a simple tune on a reed flute, a sad, haunting melody that reminds you of home. You share stories of your villages, of your families, of the lives you left behind. These moments are brief, stolen from the crushing weight of the work, but they are precious. They remind you that you are still a man, not just a number on a scribe's list. You eat your evening meal together, sitting on the ground outside the barracks. The same bread, the same beer, perhaps a stew of lentils and onions. The food is plain, but it is plentiful. The state understands that men cannot build God's tombs on empty stomachs. In this strange, temporary city, you are a ward of the pharaoh. He provides for you, houses you, and works you until your bones ache. It is a life of servitude, but it is an ordered one. You are a cog, but a vital one in a machine of immense and sacred purpose. The darkness that falls on the Giza Plateau is absolute. The sun vanishes, and the desert's heat bleeds away into a surprising chill. The Great Pyramid becomes a black triangle against a sky awash with stars, more stars than you have ever seen. They feel close enough to touch. The workers' village does not go completely silent. The fires in the bakeries still glow, casting a warm orange light into the darkness. Oil lamps flicker in the doorways of the barracks, their small flames dancing in the cool night breeze. The day's deafening noise of hammering and shouting fades into a low hum of human life. This is the time that belongs to you, these few precious hours between the end of labor and the oblivion of sleep. You sit with the men from your gang, your back pressed against the cool mud-brick wall of your barracks. The aches of the day settle deep into your muscles, a constant dull throb. You rub your sore shoulders, your bruised hands. Someone starts a story, a folk tale from his village about a cunning jackal or a foolish farmer. Laughter soft and tired ripples through the group. Someone else begins to hum a simple tune, a song his mother used to sing. For a moment, you are not a worker. You are just a man listening to a story under the stars. A game of chance might start. Two men roll dice made from animal bone, wagering a piece of their next day's bread ration on the outcome. There is quiet banter, a soft curse, a shared laugh. It is a small rebellion against the rigid order of the day, a moment of personal choice in a life of commands. You look up at the massive dark shape of the pyramid. It seems to breathe in the darkness, a sleeping god. During the day, it is your master, a symbol of your unending labor. But at night, it is different. It is almost beautiful. You feel a strange sense of ownership, of pride. Your hands, your sweat, your pain are a part of that stone. You are building eternity. But the feeling is fleeting. The exhaustion is a heavy blanket pulling you down. You say goodnight to your comrades and retreat into the crowded gallery. You find your space on the sleeping platform, curl up on your reed mat, and pull your rough linen cloak over you. The sounds of men sleeping, snoring, coughing, murmuring in their dreams fill the air. You close your eyes and pray for a sleep deep enough to erase the ache in your bones, and long enough to give you the strength to face the sun again tomorrow. The sun is your enemy. The stone is your adversary. But there is another foe on this plateau, one that is silent, patient, and enters your body with every breath you take. It is the dust. It is born from every chisel, strike, every mallet blow, every block that is dragged and shaped. A fine white powder of limestone and sandstone that hangs in the air like a permanent ghostly fog. It never settles. It coats your skin, your hair, your clothes. At the end of the day, you look less like a man and more like a statue in the process of crumbling. You try to wipe it from your face, but you only smear it into a gritty paste with your sweat. You taste it in your food. It settles on your bread, in your water, in the communal stew pot. It has a dry, chalky taste that you can never quite wash from your mouth. It is the spice of Giza, the flavor of your labor. You eat the mountain, and in turn, the mountain eats you. But the worst part is the air. You breathe it in a constant, unavoidable stream of fine, sharp particles. At first, it just makes you cough, a dry, hacking sound that becomes the unofficial language of the quarry. Every man here has the same cough. It echoes through the barracks at night, a chorus of failing lungs. You learn to tie a piece of wet linen over your mouth and nose. It helps for a while. It catches the worst of the dust, turning dark gray by mid-morning. But it also makes it harder to breathe in the suffocating heat. You feel like you are breathing through a clogged filter, each gasp a struggle. Over the months, and then the years, you feel the change inside you. Your breaths become shorter. There is a tightness in your chest that never leaves. Sometimes you cough so hard that you taste blood. You look at the older men, the ones who have been here for decades. They are thin, their shoulders hunched, and their breath is a shallow, painful rasp. They suffer from what modern doctors would call silicosis, a disease of the lungs caused by inhaling stone dust. To you, it is simply the quarry's curse, a sickness that comes from breathing the mountain you are trying to move. The dust is patient. It fills your lungs as slowly and surely as the pyramid rises from the desert floor. It is a part of you now, a fine white powder settling deep within, slowly turning your breath to stone. You are not just building a tomb for your pharaoh. You are slowly, breath by breath, building one for yourself. The great gods of the state, Ra, Horus, Osiris, feel distant here. They belong to the grand temples, to the priests in their clean white linen, to the pharaoh himself. Here on the plateau, amidst the noise and the pain, your prayers are smaller, more personal, more desperate. You carry an amulet, a small worn piece of faience or stone tucked into your loincloth. It is a charm of the god Bees, the fierce dwarf-like protector of households and labor. His grotesque, grinning face is meant to ward off evil spirits, snakes, and you hope falling blocks of stone. Before you begin your work, each morning your fingers find it a silent prayer for protection in a place where danger is ordinary. Many of the men do the same. They have their own small gods, their own village protectors. You see amulets of Taweret, the hippopotamus goddess, who protects mothers and children, worn by men who whisper prayers for the families they left behind. You see the Eye of Horus, a powerful symbol of healing and protection carved into tools or sleeping platforms. These are not the grand formal rituals of the temples. This is the religion of the common man. It is a faith of whispered pleas and small offerings. A bit of your bread left at a makeshift shrine. A drop of beer poured onto the sand to appease the spirits of the land you are disturbing. You learn that there are gods specific to this place. You hear whispers of the mistress of the quarry, a local goddess of the rock who must be placated before a new section is cut. Failure to do so invites disaster. When a man is injured, his friends might make a small offering in his name, not to the great state gods, but to the lesser spirits who are believed to linger in the shadows of the stones. And there is magic. You see men with tattoos of protective symbols on their arms. You hear of spells recited to give strength to the ropes or to make a stubborn block of stone yield more easily. It is a folk magic, a blend of superstition and hope passed from one worker to another. The priests and scribes might dismiss it, but here, where death is a constant neighbor, you will take any protection you can get. Your faith is not about the glorious afterlife of the pharaoh. It is about surviving until dusk. It is about your hands not being crushed, your lungs not giving out, your body holding together for one more day. The great gods may be watching from the heavens, but you pray to the small gods who walk beside you in the dust. You are all builders, but you are not all equal. Even in this city of shared labor, a subtle hierarchy exists, a ladder of skill and status that determines the quality of your food, the safety of your work, and the weight of the overseer's staff. At the very bottom are the haulers, the men whose only tool is their own body. You are one of them. Your task is brute force, to pull the sledges, to carry the baskets of earth, to do the heavy, repetitive work that requires muscle, not mind. You are the most numerous and the most expendable. Just above you are the quarrymen, the ones who cut the stone. They have a skill, a craft. They understand the rock. They have a slightly higher status and might receive a slightly larger ration of bread. They look upon the haulers with a mixture of pity and contempt. Then there are the masons, the finishers. These are the men who work on the pyramid itself, shaping the blocks with greater precision, fitting them into place with a skill that borders on artistry. They use finer tools, and their work is less about brute strength and more about careful measurement. They are the rekket, the knowers of things. They live in slightly better quarters and are treated with a measure of respect by the overseers. You watch them work with a kind of awe. They are not just building, they are creating. And at the top of the workers' ladder are the true craftsmen, the sculptors who carve the reliefs, the painters who decorate the inner chambers, the artisans who work with wood and metal. These men are artists. They are often literate. They work in shaded workshops, away from the dust and the noise of the main site. Their work is sacred, and so are they in a way. They are building the pharaoh's eternal home, and their hands are blessed. You learn your place quickly. You do not speak to a craftsman unless spoken to. You do not touch the tools of a mason. You do your work, you keep your head down, and you understand that you are at the bottom of this pyramid of labor. The system is designed to be efficient. Every man has his task, his station. But it is also a system of division. It creates envy, rivalry, and a quiet struggle for the small privileges that make life here bearable. An extra piece of fish, a spot in the shade, a word of praise from an overseer. You are all cogs in the great machine, but some cogs are more valuable than others. The days blur into weeks, the weeks into months, the months into years. The sun rises and sets, the Nile floods and recedes. The seasons turn, but your world does not. Your world is the plateau. It is the dust, the stone, the rhythm of the work. You came here as a young man, your back straight, your hands unscarred. Now your hair is flecked with gray, and your face is a map of lines carved by the sun and the squinting effort of your labor. You look at your hands. They are not the hands of the boy who left his village. They are tools scarred, calloused, and shaped by the stone they have broken, the pyramid, which was once just a foundation. A dream in the mind of the pharaoh, is now a mountain. It looms over the landscape, a man-made peak that casts a shadow long enough to swallow the entire workers' village at dusk. You have watched it grow, stone by stone. You have carried a part of it on your own back. It is a part of you. Its slow, relentless rise has been the clock of your life. The men you started with are different now. Some are gone claimed by accidents, by sickness, by the simple grinding down of their bodies. You remember their faces, their voices, the way they laughed at the end of a long day. They are ghosts now, their spirits as much a part of this structure as the mortar between the stones. New men have taken their places, young and strong, just as you once were. You see the same fear and awe in their eyes that you once felt. Sometimes a son will arrive from your village to join the work, and you will look at him and see the face of the boy you used to be. You teach him what you know, how to hold the mallet, how to read the stone, how to survive the sun. You are now the old man, the one with the stories, the one who knows the quarry's curse. You no longer think of returning home as a certainty. Home is a distant memory, a dream you have in the quiet hours before dawn. Your wife's face is harder to recall. Your children are grown. Your life has been spent in service to this one immense, silent thing. You have given your years to it, your strength, your health. You have watched a mountain rise from the sand, and in the process, you have been worn down like a stone in a river, smooth and old and tired. The pyramid is a monument to a king's eternity, but it is also a monument to your lost time. After 20 years, the day finally comes. The last block is ready, but it is not just any block. It is the pyramidion, the capstone, the final pointed stone that will sit at the very apex of the Great Pyramid, the point where the stone of the earth meets the fire of the sun. It is not a rough block of limestone. It is a perfectly shaped piece of fine granite, or perhaps Tura limestone polished until it shines. Some whisper that it will be cased in electrum or pure gold, a divine mirror designed to catch the first and last rays of Ra, the sun god, and send his light streaming down across the land. For weeks, the most skilled craftsmen have been working on it in a secret, guarded workshop. Its journey to the top is the most dangerous and sacred of all. The ramps have been raised to their highest point. The best ropes have been chosen. The strongest and most experienced work gangs are assembled. You are not one of them. You stand below with thousands of others, your face turned upward watching. The air is thick with anticipation. The usual noise of the quarry is gone. There is a strange, reverent silence, broken only by the rhythmic chants of the pulling teams and the creak of the massive wooden levers. You watch the capstone, wrapped in linen and reverence, begin its slow ascent. It is a tiny shape against the immense backdrop of the sky and the pyramid. It takes all day. The sun beats down, but no one leaves. No one complains. Every eye is on that single point. You see the tiny figures of the masons at the top waiting. They are ants on a mountain, guiding the final piece of their world into place. You hold your breath. 1,000 things could go wrong. A rope could snap. The stone could slip. But it doesn't. As the sun begins to set, casting the pyramid in a deep orange glow, the capstone is finally settled into place. A roar erupts from the crowd below, a sound of 20 years of labor, of pain, of loss, and of triumph, all released in a single explosive wave. Priests begin their chants. Incense smoke rises into the cooling air. The pyramid is complete. It stands perfect, a silent gleaming mountain of human will. You have done it. Your life's work is finished. You stare up at the golden tip, a tiny spark against the darkening sky, and for the first time you feel a sense of peace. The work is done. The god has his staircase to the heavens. While the world outside sees a mountain of solid stone, you know the truth. The pyramid has a heart, a secret hidden network of passages and chambers built with a precision that borders on madness. And working in these spaces is a special kind of hell. You are chosen for this work because you are small, or because you have steady hands, or perhaps simply because you are expendable. You leave the blinding sun of the plateau and enter a world of darkness, lit only by the flickering smoky light of oil lamps. The air inside is thick still, and smells of stone dust and stale breath. It is claustrophobic. The passages are narrow, often forcing you to crawl on your hands and knees. The weight of millions of tons of stone presses down from above. You try not to think about it. You try not to think about the possibility of a shift, a collapse, of being buried alive in the heart of the tomb you are building. Your task is precision. The stones that line these chambers are not the rough blocks of the exterior. They are massive slabs of red granite quarried from Aswan hundreds of miles to the south and transported here by barge. They are polished so smooth that they fit together without a single gap. A knife blade cannot fit between them. You work in the king's chamber, the final resting place of the pharaoh. The silence in here is different. It is a heavy, sacred silence. Your every tap of the chisel echoes unnaturally in the confined space. The overseers are different too. They do not shout, they whisper. The work must be perfect. A single flaw, a single chipped edge would be an insult to the god-king, a disruption of Mayat. The pressure is immense. You work for hours in the dark, your body contorted into unnatural positions, the lamp smoke stinging your eyes. You help to maneuver the massive granite sarcophagus into place, a task that seems impossible in such a tight space. You help to set the great portcullis stones, the granite slabs designed to seal the tomb forever after the pharaoh's burial. You are building a fortress for a ghost, a palace for eternity. And you know that you will never see this place again. Once the work is done, you will leave, and it will be sealed. There is a rumor among the men that those who work on the final sealing of the tomb are sometimes sealed in with it, a final sacrifice to guard the king's secrets. You do not know if it is true. But as you crawl back out into the blinding sunlight, you feel as though you are emerging from the underworld itself. You have been inside the mountain, and a part of you will forever remain in its dark, silent heart. You are a hauler, a cutter of rough stone. Your world is one of brute force and repetition. But there is another world on this plateau, a world of art, of color, of a skill so fine it seems like magic. This is the world of the craftsmen. You see them in their shaded workshops, set apart from the dust and chaos of the main construction site. They are a different class of worker, and you know it. Their hands, though stained with pigment, are not the battered, broken tools that you possess. Their movements are not the heaving strain of pulling a sledge, but the delicate, patient gestures of creation. You watch them grind minerals into vibrant pigments, green from malachite blue, from azurite red, and yellow from ochre, and black from soot. They mix these powders with a binder, perhaps egg white or acacia gum, to create the paints that will bring the tomb's inner walls to life. To you, who lives in a world of brown earth and white stone, the brilliance of these colors is breathtaking. It is the color of the gods. You see the sculptors at work, the Ganukai. They are the ones who carve the intricate hieroglyphs and the beautiful reliefs that will tell the pharaoh's story for eternity. They do not use your crude copper chisels. Their tools are finer, sharper. They work on the smooth, polished limestone of the inner chambers, their taps so light and precise it seems impossible that they are cutting into stone. They are not just laborers. They are Rekhet, knowers of things. They understand the sacred symbols. They can write the language of the gods. They can capture the likeness of a man or a god in a way that ensures he will live forever. They work in silence, their focus absolute. Their world is one of lines of symbols of a secret knowledge you will never possess. You feel a sense of awe and perhaps a touch of envy. They receive better rations. They live in more comfortable quarters. They are protected from the worst of the sun and the dust. Their work is still demanding the pressure for perfection immense, but it is a different kind of labor. It is the work of the mind and the soul, not just the muscle and bone. You may have helped haul the stone that makes up the walls, but they are the ones who give the stone its voice. They are the ones who who ensure the pharaoh's name will be remembered, who paint the spells that will guide him through the underworld, who carve the images that will become his reality in the field of reeds. You build the house of eternity, but they are the ones who furnish it with magic. Years have passed. You no longer count them. You measure time in pyramids built in pharaohs, buried in the slow, grinding ache of your own body. You went to the plateau as a young man. You are now old. Not old in years, perhaps you are only 40, but your body feels ancient, a ruin of its own. You look at your hands. They are permanently curled, as if still gripping a rope or a mallet. The joints of your fingers are swollen thick knobs of bone that ache with a dull fire when the night air grows cold. This is the price of 1,000 swings, 1,000,000 impacts. Doctors one day will find skeletons like yours and call it severe degenerative arthritis. You just call it Tuesday. Your back is no longer straight. It has a permanent stoop, a curve that was carved into it by years of leaning into the ropes, of carrying baskets of earth, of bending over to cut stone. It is a posture of submission not to a king, but to gravity and labor. Getting up from your reed mat in the morning is a slow, painful process, each vertebra groaning in protest. Your teeth, once strong, are now worn down to flat stubs. Decades of eating bread made with sand-filled flour has ground them away. Chewing is difficult. You have lost some. The others are loose. You live with a constant low-level toothache that you have learned to ignore. Your skin is a roadmap of your life's work. It is leathered by the sun, scarred by flying stone chips, and marked by the pale, puckered tissue of old burns from the forge. Each scar tells a story: the time a rope snapped, the day a chisel slipped, the morning a pot of hot beer was spilled. You walk with a limp. Everyone here walks with a limp. A poorly healed fracture from a fall, a twisted knee from a slipping sledge. Your body is a living record of the pyramid's construction. Each injury is a footnote in the grand history of the monument. You see the young men arriving now, their bodies straight and strong, and you see yourself. You see a tool that is still sharp. And then you look at your own reflection in a puddle of water, and you see a tool that has been used, worn down, and is nearing the end of its purpose. The pyramid stands perfect and eternal. You are its opposite, temporary, flawed, and broken. There are dangers on the plateau. You can see a falling stone, a frayed rope, the angry staff of an overseer. But there is another danger, one that is silent, invisible, and far more deadly. It is the sickness that moves through the crowded workers' village like a phantom. You live with thousands of other men in close, cramped quarters. You share the same water, eat from the same communal pots, and breathe the same air. It is a perfect breeding ground for disease. The most common affliction is the one that twists your gut. One day a man in your barracks complains of stomach cramps. The next day he cannot hold down water. The day after he is too weak to stand. You know it as the demon of the belly. Doctors today would call it dysentery or cholera, born from water, contaminated by waste. You see it spread through a work gang, like a fire through dry reeds. Men grow weak, they are removed from the line, and sometimes they do not return. The flies are everywhere, buzzing over the food, the waste pits the sick. You know they carry the sickness, but there is nothing you can do. You swat them away, but they always come back. Then there is the cough. Not the dry, dusty cough of the quarry, but a deep, wet cough that racks the body and brings up blood. It is a sickness of the lungs that spreads in the close air of the barracks at night. You watch a friend grow thinner and paler each day, his strength seeping away until his breath becomes a shallow whisper. And there are the fevers that come from the water itself. Even the Nile, the giver of life, carries unseen dangers. You hear stories of men who develop swollen bellies and endless fatigue after working in the irrigation canals. It is a curse from the river spirits, they say. It is schistosomiasis, a parasitic infection, though you do not know its name. There is no concept of contagion here. You do not isolate the sick. You live beside them, share your cup with them, and pray to Be-Ease and Taweret that the sickness will pass you by. The healers do what they can with herbs and spells, but against these invisible armies, they are often powerless. The fear of sickness is different from the fear of an accident. An accident is quick. It is a moment of terror. But sickness is slow. It is a creeping dread. It reminds you that the greatest threats are the ones you cannot see. The work is brutal, dehumanizing. You are a number, a body, a pair of hands. But even here, in the shadow of the great machine, you find ways to remember that you are a man. You find glimmers of pride in the dust. Your work gang is more than just a group of men assigned to the same task. It becomes your tribe, your family on the plateau. You develop a rivalry with the other gangs, a friendly competition that fuels your work and gives it meaning. When your team successfully hauls a particularly massive block, a cheer goes up. It is a small victory, but it is yours. You see it in the graffiti, the secret marks left by the workers in hidden places within the pyramid on stones that will never be seen again once they are set. These are not elaborate carvings, just quick sketches in red ochre. The name of your gang? The Friends of Khufu. A crude drawing of an ox, a note boasting that your gang finished their section first. The Drunkards of Menkaura was one such gang. Name a flash of humor and identity in a world of anonymous labor. These marks are a quiet act of defiance, a whisper to eternity that says, "We were here. We built this." You take pride in your small area of expertise. Perhaps you become known for your steady hand with a chisel, or your ability to judge the balance of a sledge. The overseer might start to rely on you for a specific task. He still does not use your name, but there is a nod of respect, a silent acknowledgement that you are good at what you do. In a life of endless repetitive labor, a small measure of skill becomes a source of immense personal worth. There are moments of camaraderie that cut through the exhaustion. Sharing a water skin with a thirsty comrade, helping a man to his feet after he stumbles, telling a joke at the end of the day that makes the whole gang laugh, a sound that for a moment drowns out the aches and the fears. These are the things that keep you human. You are not building this monument out of love for the pharaoh. You are not driven by a grand sense of national purpose. You are building it because you must. But in the small spaces between the commands and the labor, you find a different reason. You build it alongside the men who share your suffering, your rations, and your quiet jokes. You are building it together, and in that shared struggle, you find a strange, hard-won pride. You are not just a tool, you are a builder, and the monument rising from the sand is a testament, not just to a king's power, but to your endurance. Your life has always been ruled by the Nile. Back in your village, its annual flood, the etched, was the season of renewal, the time when the river deposited the rich black silt that would nourish your crops. But here at Giza, the flood has a different meaning. It is the season of building. When the waters rise and cover the farmland, you and thousands of other farmers are conscripted into the corvée labor force. The state knows this is the one time of year when its massive agricultural workforce is idle, and so the rhythm of the pyramid's construction is tied to the rhythm of the great river. The inundation is when the work intensifies, when the plateau swells with new arrivals, when the push to raise the next level of the pyramid becomes most frantic. The Nile is more than just a clock for your labor. It is a highway for the stones. The common limestone blocks are quarried right here on the Giza Plateau. But the most important stones, the massive granite slabs used to build the king's chamber, and the fine white Tura limestone for the outer casing, come from far away. The granite comes from Aswan, more than 500 miles to the south. These blocks, weighing up to 80 tons, are quarried in the dry season. Then, during the flood, when the water level is at its highest, they are loaded onto immense wooden barges. You watch them arrive, these great ships, gliding down the swollen river, low in the water, under the impossible weight of a single piece of stone. The flood allows these barges to travel over the submerged farmland, bringing them much closer to the base of the pyramid than would be possible at any other time of year. Getting the blocks off the barges and onto the sledges is a monumental task in itself, a dangerous coordinated dance of labor's ropes and hundreds of men. The river, the giver of life, has now become the enabler of this great work. It connects the distant parts of Egypt, bringing the finest materials from the south to this sacred construction site. You look at the river and you feel its power. It is a god, a force of nature that dictates every aspect of your existence. It decides when you farm and when you build. It carries the stones that will form your king's eternal home. You are a small part of its cycle, a temporary laborer whose life is measured by its floods. The river gives, and the river takes. It gives the silt for your crops, and it takes your years for the pharaoh's tomb. One day, a wave of nervous energy ripples through the worksite. The overseers are shouting more than usual. The scribes are frantic. The pace of the work quickens. You do not need to be told why. You know, the god is coming. The pharaoh's visit is a rare and terrifying event. He is not a man. He is a living deity, the earthly incarnation of Horus. His presence is a storm of power and reverence that disrupts the normal rhythm of your world. Word travels fast. The royal barge has been sighted on the Nile. The work on the plateau shifts from construction to frantic preparation. Paths are swept clean of debris. Tools are put in order. You are told to wash to make yourself as presentable as possible, which means scrubbing the top layer of dust from your skin with a wet rag. You are lined up with thousands of other workers along the causeway. You are instructed to kneel, to bow your head, to not look directly at the god as he passes. To meet the pharaoh's gaze unprepared is to invite disaster, to risk being struck blind by his divine power. You hear the procession before you see it. The sound of trumpets, the chanting of priests, the low rhythmic beat of ceremonial drums. The air grows thick with the smell of expensive incense, a scent so foreign and so pure compared to the dust and sweat of your daily life. You kneel, your forehead touching the hot ground. You hear the soft footfalls of the priests, the rustle of fine linen robes. You can feel the presence of the procession as it passes. The ground seems to hum with a different energy. You risk a glance from the corner of your eye. You see the gilded carrying chair shaded by ostrich feather fans. You see glimpses of bright colors, of gold, of lapis lazuli. You see the guards in their immaculate kilts, their bronze-tipped spears gleaming in the sun. And then you see him just for a second. The pharaoh. He is adorned in jewels and a headdress bearing the uraeus, the cobra, a symbol of his absolute power. His face is calm, impassive, otherworldly. He is not looking at you. He is looking at his creation, his staircase to the stars. His gaze passes over you as if you are not there, as if you are merely part of the landscape, another grain of sand. And then he is gone. The procession moves on toward the pyramid. The sounds fade. The scent of incense dissipates. The overseer shouts a command, and you rise. You are trembling. You have been in the presence of a god. The moment is over, but the memory of that overwhelming, terrifying, and sacred power will stay with you forever. Now get back to work. The pyramid is finished. The capstone is in place, a golden point against the endless blue. For 20 years, this structure has been your entire world. Its rising form was the measure of your days, its shadow the boundary of your life. And now it is done. A strange quiet settles over the plateau. The rhythmic chants have stopped. The grinding of stone on stone has ceased. For the first time in a generation, you can hear the wind. You stand with the other men looking up at the perfect mountain you have built. There is no great cheer, no final celebration. There is only a deep, collective exhale. A letting go of a tension you have carried in your bones for so long you had forgotten what it felt like to be without it. The work is done, but the silence does not last. The overseers have new commands. The great ramp, the earthen serpent that coiled around the pyramid for 2 decades, must now be dismantled. The road to the heavens must be erased, leaving the pyramid to stand alone in its glory. And so, a new kind of labor begins. It is the work of unbuilding. You carry away the baskets of earth, the timber supports the rubble you once hauled with such effort. It feels strange, almost sacrilegious, to take apart the very thing that made the pyramid possible. You are dismantling the memory of your own struggle. As the ramp recedes layer by layer, it reveals the pyramid's true form, its sloping sides emerging from the earth like a ship being freed from the sand. There is a sense of emptiness in this new work. Before, every basket of earth, every block of stone was part of a clear purpose to go up. Now the purpose is to erase, to clean, to prepare the sacred ground for the pharaoh's final journey. You are no longer building a monument. You are tidying a graveyard. You look at the men around you. Their faces are weathered, their bodies stooped. They move with the slow, deliberate pace of men who have forgotten any other way of life. The pyramid is complete, but your service is not. The pharaoh's eternal home requires more than just a mountain of stone. It requires a world to be built around it. The temples, the causeways, the subsidiary tombs for his queens. You thought you had reached the end, but you realize now there is no end. There is only the next task. The pyramid stands perfect and silent. But you, its builder, are not yet free. The god is home, but his work is not yet finished. The pyramid has its shape, but not yet its soul. The rough, stepped sides that you have known for years must now be given their final divine skin. This is the work of the casing stones. Massive, precisely cut blocks of brilliant white limestone brought from the quarries at Tura across the Nile are now raised into place. This is not the rough work of the core blocks. This is a task of terrifying precision. The stones are set from the top down as the great construction ramp is slowly dismantled beneath you. You are now working high above the earth on the steep, sloping face of the pyramid itself. You are suspended on a simple wooden platform held by ropes. Below you is a dizzying drop. The world has flattened into a map of sand and distant toy-like buildings. The wind up here is a living thing. It pushes against you, threatening to tear you from your precarious perch. You learn to move with it to brace yourself, to become a part of the stone you are clinging to. You don't look down anymore. That's how Kim fell. One misstep, one gust of wind. Then silence. You just focus on the stone in front of you. Your task is to polish. Once the casing stones are in place, their surface must be made perfectly smooth. You use polishing stones, rubbing away at the limestone for hours, for days, until it is as smooth as water, as white as the summer sun. It is grueling, repetitive work, made all the more terrifying by the sheer drop just inches from your feet. But as you work, something magical happens. The pyramid begins to shine. The polished Tura limestone catches the light, and the entire structure starts to gleam with a brilliant, otherworldly radiance. It is no longer a mountain of rough stone. It is a beacon, a jewel set in the desert, so bright it hurts your eyes. The Egyptians call it etched Khufu, the horizon of Khufu. It is designed to reflect the sun's rays, a man-made star on earth. You work your small section, your body aching the wind whistling in your ears. But for the first time, you are not just building. You are beautifying. You are giving the god's tomb its divine light. You are helping it to join the sky. The fear of the height is still there, a cold knot in your stomach. But it is mingled now with a fierce, burning pride. You are not just a hauler of stone. You are a polisher of light. And the gleaming face of the pyramid is a reflection of your own small, dangerous, and sacred work. You thought that when the pyramid was complete, your work was done. You were wrong. A pyramid is not just a tomb. It is the heart of a vast complex, a city for the dead king's eternal soul. And this city must now be built. Once the pyramid is cased and gleaming, your work gangs are moved to the surrounding grounds. A new kind of construction begins. You are no longer building upwards towards the sky. You are now building outwards, creating the sacred spaces where the king's spirit will be worshipped for millennia to come. First is the mortuary temple, built against the east face of the pyramid. It is a massive structure in its own right, with courtyards, pillared halls, and hidden chambers. Here priests will perform the daily rituals to nourish the pharaoh's ka, or life force. You haul the great granite pillars into place. You pave the vast courtyards with limestone slabs. The work is still heavy, but it feels different. It is more intricate, more detailed. From the mortuary temple, a long covered causeway must be built stretching nearly half a mile down towards the Nile Valley. It is a long, enclosed corridor, its walls destined to be covered in beautiful, intricate reliefs depicting the pharaoh's triumphs. You build the walls of this great passage stone by stone. It is a bridge between the world of the living and the world of the dead. At the end of the causeway, another temple rises, the Valley Temple. This is the gateway to the entire complex. It is here that the pharaoh's body will be received from the river, where it will be purified and prepared by the priests before its final journey up the causeway to the pyramid. It is a place of immense sanctity, and you build its walls with a new sense of reverence. And there are the smaller pyramids, the subsidiary tombs for the pharaoh's queens, rising like echoes beside the great one. Each requires its own small temple, its own causeway, its own careful construction. The work feels endless. For every great monument, there are a dozen smaller ones that must be raised. The plateau is no longer just a construction site for a single tomb. It is a sprawling necropolis, a sacred landscape of temples, shrines, and roads. You realize now that you were not just building a tomb for a king. You were building his heaven on earth. And the gods, it seems, demand a great deal of architecture. The brute force of your labor is mostly over. The hauling, the lifting of massive blocks that work, is done. Now a different kind of work begins, the work of giving the stone its soul. You are now an assistant to the craftsmen, the men who will turn these temples from empty stone shells into sacred living spaces. You are tasked with mixing plaster, a fine, smooth paste of gypsum that will coat the inner walls of the temples. You grind the pigments for the painters. You carry the delicate tools for the carvers. You are on the periphery of true artistry, and you watch in silent awe. You see the artist transform a blank limestone wall into a window into the divine world. They paint ceilings, a deep, brilliant blue dotted with thousands of golden stars, creating a perfect replica of the night sky indoors. The king's spirit will rest under an eternal heaven. You watch the sculptors carve the reliefs. These are not crude markings. They are stories in stone. You see scenes of the pharaoh making offerings to the gods. You see him victorious in battle, his enemies trampled beneath his feet. You see long, intricate lists of the food and drink that will sustain his soul forever: bread, beer, oxen, geese, figs, wine. Every detail is carved with a precision that seems impossible. The hieroglyphs are the most magical of all. The scribes first draw the outlines on the wall in red, corrected by a master in black. Then the carvers begin their chisels, tapping lightly, giving the sacred words a depth and a shadow. You cannot read the words, but you understand their power. These are spells, prayers, and promises designed to protect and guide the pharaoh on his journey through the underworld. You work in the cool, echoing silence of the temple halls. The air smells of wet plaster and mineral paint. The only sounds are the soft tap-tap-tap of the carver's chisel and the gentle swish of the painter's brush. It is a world away from the noise and brutality of the quarry. Here the work is quiet, contemplative, sacred. You are a small part of this final, beautiful act. You are cleaning the brushes, carrying the pots of paint, sweeping the stone dust from the floor. But you are witnessing the completion of the magic. You are watching men write a story that is intended to be read only by the gods and the soul of a king for the next 1,000 years. You have worked in the heart of the pyramid. You have walked the passages meant only for a king's soul. You have stood in the empty chamber where a golden sarcophagus will one day rest. And now you carry a heavy and dangerous burden, not of stone, but of knowledge. You know the layout of the tomb. You know where the passages turn, where the false doors are, where the real burial chamber lies hidden. This knowledge is a poison. It is a secret that hums in your mind during the day and whispers to you in your dreams. You know that within this mountain of stone will be treasures beyond your wildest imagination, gold jewels, inlaid furniture, and offerings intended to last for an eternity. A thought, dark and tempting, flickers at the edge of your mind. The thought of returning one day in the dead of night, after the king is buried and the priests are gone. The thought of finding a way back into the darkness, back to the chamber of gold. You are not the only one who has this thought. You see it in the eyes of the other men who worked beside you in the inner chambers. You hear it in the hushed conversations that stop abruptly when you approach. The punishment for tomb robbery is the most severe imaginable. It is not a quick death. It is torture impalement, a slow and agonizing end designed to be a lesson to others. Your name would be erased, your family shamed, and your soul, they say, would be devoured by a meat denied entry into the field of reeds forever. And so fear battles greed in the quiet corners of your mind. You are terrified of the consequences both from the pharaoh's guards and from the wrath of the gods. To desecrate a tomb is the ultimate act of disrupting Ma'at. It is a crime against the cosmic order itself. You see the protective spells carved on the walls, the images of guardian deities with their knives drawn, and you feel a cold dread. This secret becomes a part of you. You try to forget the map of the passages. You try to erase the image of the empty sarcophagus from your mind. But you cannot. You are a builder, but you are also a potential thief. The knowledge you carry makes you both valuable and a threat. You look at your comrades with new eyes, wondering who among them is weak enough or brave enough to one day defy the gods and the king. You wonder if in the depths of a hungry winter you might become that man yourself. The weight of the secret is heavier than any stone you have ever carried. Your world is one of men of stone of sweat and shouted commands. But it is a world that is only made possible by another parallel world, the world of the women. You do not see them on the construction site. They are not hauling the sledges or polishing the casing stones. But their labor is just as constant, just as vital. They are the bedrock upon which this entire enterprise is built. In the workers' village, they are the ones who make life possible. You see them in the early morning, long before your own work begins grinding the grain. They kneel for hours over the grinding stones, the querns their bodies moving in a steady, repetitive rhythm, turning the hard kernels of emmer wheat and barley into the coarse flour that will become your daily bread. Their hands are strong, their arms tireless. You see them at the communal wells, balancing heavy clay jars of water on their heads, with a grace that defies the weight. This is the water that will be used for cooking, for brewing, for the small act of washing a child's dusty face. From the massive state-run bakeries and breweries of the village, the smell of baking bread and fermenting beer fills the air. It is the women who knead the dough, who tend the fires, who prepare the thousands of rations needed to feed this army of labor. Their work is an endless cycle of preparation and provision. They are the spinners and the weavers turning raw flax into the linen that clothes you. They are the healers, the keepers of herbal knowledge passed down from their mothers, tending to the sick children and the exhausted men. They are the mothers raising the next generation in the shadow of this great monument, teaching them the stories of the gods and the rules of survival. When you return to your barracks at night, exhausted and covered in dust, it is the community they have maintained that offers you a sliver of comfort. The fire is lit, the food is ready. A semblance of home exists in this strange temporary city because of them. You see your own wife and children only in your memory, but you see their likenesses in the faces of the women and children here. You see their strength, their resilience, their quiet endurance. You realize that you are not the only ones sacrificing for the pharaoh's tomb. They are too. They are building the community that allows the pyramid to be built. Their work is not carved in stone, but it is just as eternal. Most days are the same, a relentless cycle of labor and exhaustion. But there are a few days on the calendar when the work stops. These are the festival days, the holy days, and they are a gift from the gods and the pharaoh. The announcement comes a day before. Work will cease in honor of Sokar, the ancient god of craftsmen, and the dead, a patron of the Memphite necropolis. A wave of relief and excitement washes over the workers' village. A day without the quarry's dust. A day without the overseer's staff. A day of rest. The morning of the festival is different. You wake not to the sound of horns and commands, but to the smell of roasting meat. The state has provided a feast. Oxen have been slaughtered. The rations are doubled. The beer is stronger, less watery, and flows freely. You wash yourself as best you can. You put on the cleanest loincloth you own. There is a lightness in the air, a sense of collective release. You see men smiling, laughing. The weary, guarded expressions of the workday have vanished, replaced by a simple human joy. You gather in the open spaces of the village. There are processions led by the local priests, carrying banners and small statues of the gods. Incense smoke, sweet and thick, fills the air, masking the usual smells of dust and sweat. There is music. Men play simple tunes on reed flutes. Others beat rhythmic patterns on hand drums. Some men dance their movements clumsy and joyous, a release of pent-up energy. You sit with your work gang and share the feast. The taste of roasted meat is a miracle in your mouth, a flavor so rich and rare it feels like a dream. You drink the strong beer and feel a warmth spread through your tired limbs, a warmth that has nothing to do with the sun. You tell stories. You gamble with dice for scraps of food. You watch acrobats and wrestlers perform in the center of a cheering circle. For this one day, you are not a worker. You are a citizen of Egypt celebrating with your comrades. You are reminded of the festivals in your own village, of the life you left behind. There is a pang of sadness in that memory, but it is overshadowed by the immediate joy of the moment. As the sun sets, the celebrations wind down. You are full, you are tired in a good way, and you are for a brief moment happy. The festival is a reprieve, a necessary pause in the long, hard song of your labor. It gives you the strength to face the work that will inevitably return with the rising sun tomorrow. But tonight, you will sleep with a full belly and the faint echo of music in your ears. The dangers of the plateau are not all born of labor. The desert itself is a hunter patient and silent, and its assassins are small. You learn to live with a different kind of fear, one that does not come from the overseer's staff or a falling stone, but from the creatures that dwell in the heat and the shadows. You learn to check your sandals before you put them on in the morning, shaking them out to dislodge the scorpion that may have sought refuge there in the night. The death stalker, pale and yellow, like a sliver of dried bone, is common here. Its sting is a white-hot fire, a pain that can make a grown man scream for hours. You see men fall ill, their bodies racked with fever and convulsions after a careless step near a pile of rocks. The healers have remedy spells to the goddess Serkete and poultices made of herbs and magic, but they do not always work. Death by scorpion is a slow, agonizing affair. You learn to watch where you place your hands when you lift a stone. Snakes like the horned viper and the cobra love the cool darkness beneath the rocks. They lie in wait, coiled and still. A bite comes suddenly, a sharp prick of pain, and then the venom begins its work. The cobra's poison can stop your breath, paralyze your heart. You have seen men, strong men, who could haul stone all day collapse within minutes, their bodies limp, their faces a mask of terror. The uraeus, the cobra, is a symbol of the pharaoh's divine power, a protector of the king. But here, in the dust, it is simply a bringer of a swift and silent end. At night, in the dark barracks, this fear intensifies. You sleep on the floor, on a mat of reeds. Every rustle in the dark, every soft slithering sound makes your heart race. Is it just the wind or something moving in the shadows? You learn to sleep with one ear open, listening for the telltale signs of danger. The desert is not empty. It is alive with things that bite, that sting, that kill. You are an intruder in their world, a soft-bodied creature in a land of poison and fangs. The pyramid may be a monument to man's power over nature, but every day the scorpion and the snake offer a quiet, deadly rebuttal. They remind you that you are not a master here. You are just another creature, fragile and mortal, trying to survive in a world that was never meant for you. You see them every day, the scribes. They are men of a different order, a different world, even though they walk the same dusty ground as you. They are the keepers of the records, the masters of the written word, and they wield a power greater than any mallet or chisel. They do not live in the crowded barracks with you. They have their own quarters, cleaner and more spacious. They do not wear the rough linen loincloth of a laborer. They wear fine white kilts that are washed and pressed. Their hands are not calloused and scarred. They are smooth-stained only with the black and red ink of their trade. They are exempt from the corvée, the physical labor. They do not sweat under the sun. They sit in the shade of a tent or a specially built office, their world confined to a papyrus scroll. You watch them with a mixture of awe and resentment. They are the ones who record your quota, who mark down your failures, who calculate the rations of bread and beer. Your life is a number in their ledgers. Their power over you is absolute, yet they have never lifted a stone. Their tool is the reed pen, the sesh. They carry a wooden pallet with 2 shallow wells, one for black ink, made from soot, and one for red ink, made from ochre, used for headings and important notes. They write with a grace and speed that seems like a form of magic. The complex hieroglyphs, the sacred language of the gods, flow from their hands with an ease that you can barely comprehend. To become a scribe is to escape the life you know. It requires years of education starting as a boy. A student scribe would spend more than a decade in a special school, memorizing hundreds of symbols, endlessly copying texts, and suffering the harsh discipline of his teachers. But the reward is a life free from physical toil, a life of status of respect and of closeness to the centers of power. You see them conferring with the overseers, reading plans from scrolls, and making calculations that will determine the next stage of construction. They are the mind of the pyramid, while you are its muscle. They understand the geometry, the astronomy, the sacred mathematics that underpin this entire structure. You only understand the weight of the stone. Sometimes you see a young boy, a scribe's apprentice, struggling to learn the symbols, his knuckles rapped by his master for a mistake, and you feel a strange sense of pity. His training is a different kind of pain, a different kind of prison. But you know that his future is one of shade and clean linen, while yours is one of dust and aching bones. The gap between your worlds is as wide as the Nile, and it is a gap you will never cross. In the beginning, you held on to the idea of home. You thought of your return as a certainty, a fixed point in the future. You would count the seasons, the floods of the Nile, and tell yourself, one more year, and then I will go home. But the years have a way of stealing memories. The face of your wife becomes harder to picture. The sound of your children's laughter is a faint echo, like a dream you can't quite hold on to when you wake. The pyramid has become your reality. The dust is your home. The ache in your back is your most constant companion. Hope does not die in a single dramatic moment. It erodes. It is worn away slowly, grain by grain, just like the stone you work. It is eroded by the endless repetition of the days. The same sun, the same dust, the same bread, the same labor. The seasons change, but your life does not. It is eroded by the loss you see around you. Men you have worked with, laughed with, shared your rations with, are gone. Claimed by sickness, by accident, by the simple grinding weight of the work. With each man who falls, a small piece of your own hope falls with him. You stop counting the years. What is the point? The pyramid is a timeless creature, and you are bound to its service. You begin to accept that this is your life now. This is all there will be. The village you came from feels like it belongs to another man, a younger, stronger man who no longer exists. There are moments when a deep, profound weariness settles over you. It is more than physical exhaustion. It is a weariness of the soul. You look up at the towering monument, and you no longer feel awe or pride. You feel nothing. It is a mountain of stone that has consumed your life. It is your legacy, and it is your tomb. You still work, you still obey, you still rise with the sun and sleep with the stars. But the fire inside you, the one that dreamed of returning to the dark earth of the Nile, has burned down to a low, quiet ember. You no longer work for a future you believe in. You work because it is what you do. It is who you are, a builder of a king's eternity in a life that feels like it will never end, and yet is ending every single day. While you toil under the sun, a different world exists just a few miles away in the palaces of Memphis. It is a world you can scarcely imagine, a reality so alien it might as well be in the heavens. You hear whispers of it from the overseers, from the priests who sometimes visit the site. It is the world of the court, the world of the pharaoh, and it operates by a different set of rules. You imagine the great halls, their floors polished like dark water, their walls covered in vibrant paintings of gods and kings. You imagine cool breezes flowing through colonnaded courtyards, the air scented not with dust and sweat, but with lotus flowers and rare incense brought from the land of Punt. In this world, men and women wear robes of the finest, sheerest linen, pleated with a precision you have only seen in the wings of a dragonfly. They are adorned with gold, with lapis lazuli, with carnelian. Their wigs are elaborate, their eye paint perfect. They do not walk barefoot on hot sand. They glide on cool stone floors. You hear stories of the banquets. They do not eat your gritty bread and onion stew. They feast on roasted geese, on grilled fish from the Nile, on haunches of beef, on pomegranates and figs and grapes. They drink wine, not the sour beer of the workers, but fine wine from the Delta, served in cups of alabaster and gold. They are entertained by musicians playing harps and lutes, by graceful dancers whose movements tell stories of gods and heroes. The pharaoh sits on a throne of cedar wood and gold surrounded by his family, his vizier, his priests, and his generals. Their lives are a complex dance of power, of ritual, of intrigue. They do not worry about the sun, or the dust, or a scorpion in their sandals. They worry about the favor of the king, about the whispers of arrival, about the subtle shift in a courtier's gaze. Their battles are fought not with muscle, but with words, with influence, with secrets. This world is the reason you are here. Your sweat, your pain, your broken body. It is all in service to this distant, glittering reality. The stone you haul will build the temples they pray in. The tomb you raise will house the golden treasures they will bury with their king. You are the foundation upon which their world is built, but you will never be allowed to enter it. You are a ghost in their story, a nameless, faceless laborer, whose existence is as abstract to them as theirs is to you. The shadow of the pyramid you build falls upon you, but the shadow of the pharaoh's court covers all of Egypt. The pyramid grows, and you rise with it. The work is no longer on the solid ground of the plateau. It is now in the sky. You are working hundreds of feet above the earth on a platform that feels no wider than your own 2 feet. The world below has become a terrifying abstraction. The other pyramids, once so immense, now look like small geometric shapes. The workers' village is a scattering of clay boxes. The men moving below are no larger than insects. The Nile is a silver ribbon in the distance. A new kind of fear takes root, one that is different from the fear of the quarry. It is the fear of the void, the fear of the endless empty air that surrounds you. You learn to move with a new kind of caution, a slow, deliberate grace. Every step is a calculation. Every movement is a risk. You never turn too quickly. You never look down. The wind is your new enemy. Up here, it is a constant physical force. It pushes against you, trying to peel you from the face of the stone. It howls in your ears, a sound that seems to speak of the emptiness below. It whips sand and dust into your eyes, blinding you for a terrifying second. You learn to brace yourself against it, to make your body low and solid, to become a part of the mountain. The work of setting the stones is more dangerous than ever. The blocks are hauled up the dizzying ramps, and even a small mistake can be fatal. A slip rope, a cracked lever, and a multi-ton block could tumble down the side of the pyramid, taking everything and everyone in its path with it. You see tools fall spinning into the void, disappearing from sight, long before you hear the faint sound of them hitting the ground. You work on the wooden scaffolding lashed together with rope. It creaks and sways with the wind, a fragile web against the immense stone. You trust your life to the knots tied by another tired man. You trust your life to the strength of a single plank of wood. The sun is hotter up here, closer it seems. There is no shade, no escape. You are completely exposed, a tiny mortal figure on the face of an artificial mountain, caught between the burning sky and the distant earth. This is the world of the gods, the world of the birds. And you know with a cold certainty that settles deep in your gut that you were not meant to be here. Your work is no longer just a struggle against stone. It is a struggle against the sky itself. His name was Ippy. He was from a village downriver, and he had a laugh that was louder than it should have been. He was part of your work gang, the man who pulled on the rope next to you, the one who shared his bread when your own ration was gone. For 10 years he has been a constant presence in your life, a brother in this world of shared hardship. You saw the change in him slowly. At first it was just a cough, the same dry, dusty cough that everyone here has. But his grew worse. It became a deep, wet sound that racked his body and left him breathless. He started to lose weight. The muscles in his arms, once strong from hauling stone, grew thin. His skin became pale and drawn. He never complained. He still showed up for work every morning, his eyes burning with a feverish light. He would stumble sometimes, and you and the others would hold him up, pretending not to notice his weakness. You would do a little more of his work, pulling a little harder on the rope, lifting a heavier share of the load, all without a word. It was an unspoken agreement, the quiet law of camaraderie. One evening he did not get up for the evening meal. You brought him his bread and beer, but he only shook his head. He lay on his reed mat, his breathing shallow and fast. You sat with him for a while in the noisy darkness of the barracks, the sounds of other men talking and laughing fading into a distant hum. You did not speak. There was nothing to say. You both knew what was coming. The next morning, his place in the line was empty. His mat was empty. The overseer did not ask where he was. He simply pointed to a new man, a young boy from a southern village, to take his place. The work continued. The ropes were pulled. The stones were moved. The rhythm did not falter. But there was a hole, a silence where a loud laugh used to be. You look at the pyramid, this immense, perfect, indifferent mountain of stone, and you understand that it is built of more than just rock. It is built of lives. It is built of men like Yippee. Their names will never be carved on its walls. Their stories will never be told. But they are here. They are in the dust, in the stone, in the silence between the hammer blows. You say a quiet prayer for his soul's journey, and you pick up your rope. The sun is rising. One evening, you are washing the day's dust from your face in a basin of murky water outside the barracks. The water is still, and for a moment it becomes a dark, imperfect mirror. You lean closer, and you see something that makes you pause. There at your temple is a single hair, coarse and white, shining against the dark of your own. It is your first, a silver thread in a tapestry of black. You touch it. It feels wiry, foreign. It is a small thing, a meaningless detail in a life of immense labor. But it stops your breath. You are no longer the young man who arrived on this plateau full of fear and reluctant duty. You are no longer the boy who left a wife and a child in a distant village. That boy is a ghost at a memory. In his place is this man with lines etched around his eyes and silver at his temples. You think back to your own father. You remember the gray in his beard, the stoop in his shoulders. You remember thinking of him as old as a man from another time, and you realize with a slow, sinking feeling that you are now that man. The seasons have passed without your notice. The pyramid grew, and you grew old with it. The other men in your gang carry the same marks of time. You see the ones who have survived this long. Their faces are a testament to the sun, their bodies a map of the work. You are all survivors, veterans of this long, silent war against stone and time. But you are also fading. This single gray hair is a message. It is a reminder from your own body that your time here is finite. The pyramid you are building is designed for eternity. It is a house for a God that will outlast the stars. But you, its builder, are made of flesh and bone. You are temporary. You are decaying as surely as the ropes fray and the copper chisels blunt. You do not pull the hair out. You leave it. It is a mark of honor in a way, a testament to the years you have given to the sons you have endured. It is a quiet acknowledgement of the bargain you have made. You have traded your youth, your strength, and your time for a place in this great eternal work. You look up from the basin at the dark silhouette of the pyramid against the twilight sky. It is silent, immense, and indifferent. It does not know your name. It does not care about your gray hair. It will stand long after you and every man here have turned to dust. And for the first time, you feel the true weight, not of the stone, but of eternity. You work with men from every corner of the two lands. Men from the lush delta in the north with their strange accents. Men from the deep south of Nubia with their dark skin and quiet pride. You cannot always understand their words. Their dialects are a river of sounds you cannot navigate. But you learn to speak the true language of the plateau, a language without words. It is a language of rhythm. When your gang hauls a great sledge, the overseer does not shout complex commands. He chants a simple guttural call, and you and the others answer with a unified groan, a single explosive breath as you pull together. Ha, yup, ha, yup. The rhythm dictates the movement. It synchronizes the muscles of 100 men into one. It is a song of pure effort, and every man on the rope knows his part. It is a language of gestures. A foreman wants a block moved a fraction of an inch to the left. He does not explain. He gives a sharp, subtle flick of his hand. You understand. A worker high on the scaffolding needs a tool. He does not shout down. He makes a specific signal, a shape in the air that communicates his need across the noisy expanse. You learn this language quickly. Your life can depend on understanding the difference between a signal for water and a signal for warning stone slipping. It is a language of sound. The master mason taps a stone block with his mallet, listening to the pitch of the ring. He is listening for hidden fractures, for weaknesses in the stone that your eyes cannot see. His ear tells him if the block is worthy of the pyramid. The crack of a whip is not just a threat of pain. It is a command for attention. The blast of a trumpet signals the start or end of a shift. These are the sounds that govern your world. You learn to read the bodies of the men around you. The tensing of a shoulder, the shift in a man's weight, the look in his eyes, these tell you more than words ever could. You are part of a living machine, and this silent language is what keeps the gears from grinding to a halt. You may never know the name of the Nubian man who works beside you in the quarry, and he may never know yours. You may never share a story of your homes, but you know the rhythm of his breathing. You know the way he swings his mallet. You know that when you stumble, he will be there to steady you, and you will do the same for him. On the plateau, you do not need a common tongue. You have a common purpose, and that is a language everyone here understands. The state provides. The pharaoh gives you bread, beer, and a place to sleep. But sometimes it is not enough. The work is endless, the hunger is constant, and the desire for something more, a better tool, an extra piece of fish, a small comfort gnaws at you. And so, in the shadows of the Great Pyramid, another economy thrives, a black market. It is a quiet, dangerous world of stolen goods and bartered favors. You learn that a skilled worker can secretly chip off a piece of a copper chisel, a valuable metal, and trade it for a larger share of beer at night. A man working in the storehouses might slip an extra onion or a handful of dates into his loincloth, a feast to be shared later with his closest comrades in the barracks. These are small acts of theft, but the risk is enormous. The official punishment for stealing state property is severe. A beating is the least of it. You could be branded, have a hand cut off, or be sentenced to the harshest labor in the mines, a sentence from which few return. The scribes keep meticulous records of every tool, every bag of grain, every jar of oil. Everything is counted. And yet the trade continues. It has to. Your tools wear out, and the forge is slow. But you hear that a man in another work gang has access to better chisels borrowed from the craftsmen's workshops. You trade him your next 2 days' bread ration for one. It is a foolish risk, but a sharp chisel means you meet your quota faster with less pain. It means survival. The market is not just for stolen goods. It is for skills. A man who is good at mending sandals might trade his work for a share of another's fish ration. A man who knows a bit of healing magic might be given extra food to recite a spell over an injured friend. You do not trust many people. A word to an overseer could mean your death. But you form a small circle of men you can rely on. You pool your resources, share your stolen gains, and warn each other when the scribes are doing a surprise inspection. It is a dangerous game of deception and necessity. You are building a tomb for a god, a sacred monument to cosmic order. But you are also a man, hungry and tired. And sometimes to survive in the pharaoh's world, you must steal from it. You tell yourself it is not a crime against the gods, only against the endless grinding machine. But as you chew on a piece of stolen dried fish in the darkness of your barracks, you cannot help but wonder if the gods see a difference. Your body is a prisoner of the plateau, but your mind, in the quiet hours of the night, can still escape. After the evening meal, when the work is done, and the overseers have retired to their own quarters, the men of your gang gather. You huddle close, not just for warmth, but for connection. This is the time for stories. There are no books here, no scrolls for men like you. The stories are carried in memory, passed down from father to son, from one village to another. A man from the Delta begins a tale of a cunning fisherman who outwits a crocodile. Another, a man from the South, tells a story of a magical oasis that appears only under a full moon. You listen, and for a little while you are no longer a worker caked in dust. You are in a boat on a cool river. You are walking through a forest of date palms. The stories are a balm for your weary soul. They are a reminder of a world beyond this horizon of stone and sand. Sometimes a man pulls out a simple reed flute. He is not a court musician. He is a farmer who learned to play in the quiet hours while watching his herd. He plays a simple, haunting melody. It is the sound of the wind over the fields, the cry of a lone bird at dusk. The music is full of a deep, aching sadness, a longing for a home you may never see again. No one speaks. You just listen, letting the notes wash over you, cleansing the day's noise from your mind. You have your own stories, your own songs from your village. At first, you are hesitant to share them. But one night, you find the courage. You tell a story your grandfather once told you, a story of the gods, of their jealousies and their love. The men listen, their faces illuminated by the flickering fire. And in their eyes, you see the same longing, the same weariness, the same quiet humanity that you feel in your own heart. These moments are your most valuable possession. They cannot be measured by the scribes or commanded by the overseers. They are a small, secret space of freedom that you create together in the darkness. The stories and songs are a fragile shield against the crushing weight of the work. They remind you that even here, in this place of endless labor, you are more than your hands. You are a man with a memory, a voice, and a story to tell. And in the telling, you find the strength to face another day. You are a man of the earth, of mud and stone. But as the pyramid grows, you become a man of the sky. The sheer scale of the structure forces your gaze upward. And you start to notice things you never saw before. You notice that the pyramid is not placed randomly on the sand. Its four sides are aligned with a perfection that seems impossible. They face the four cardinal points: the rising sun in the east, the great desert in the west, the river in the north, and the southern stars. You overhear the master builders and the priests speaking of this. It is not for convenience. It is for cosmic order. The pyramid is an anchor pinning the earth in its proper place in relation to the heavens. You notice the way the light and shadows play upon its faces. On the days of the equinox, when day and night are of equal length, the rising sun casts a perfectly straight, sharp shadow. You see the priests making marks, taking measurements. They are using the pyramid itself as a giant sundial, a celestial clock. This is not just a tomb. It is an instrument for measuring time and the seasons. At night, you lie on the roof of your barracks and watch the stars. They are not the same stars you saw from your village. The sky here is different, clearer, vaster. You learn the constellations that the priests call the imperishable ones, the stars in the northern sky that never set below the horizon. They circle a single, still point, and you hear that one of the narrow shafts deep inside the pyramid points directly to these stars. It is a pathway, a channel for the king's soul to ascend and join them to become an eternal star himself. You do not understand the complex mathematics or the sacred geometry. That is the world of the scribes and priests. But you understand the feeling. You are building something that is in conversation with the heavens. The angles are not arbitrary. The alignments are not accidental. Every stone you place is part of a grand design, a design that mirrors the structure of the universe. This realization is both humbling and terrifying. The weight you carry every day is not just the weight of stone. It is the weight of the sky. The purpose of this great work is to create a new star on earth, a mountain that will align the kingdom of the pharaoh with the kingdom of the gods. You are a small, insignificant part of this cosmic plan, but you are a part of it. Your sweat is mortar for a house of the gods. Your aching back is a prayer carved in flesh. The gold of the boy king was intoxicating. For weeks the world was filled with light, the glint of gilded chariots, the shimmer of alabaster jars, the serene, silent gaze of the golden death mask. The excitement in the valley was a fever, a shared dream of discovery that made the heat and the dust feel insignificant. Howard Carter and his team worked relentlessly, their hands trembling as they touched objects that had not seen light for over 3,000 years. But then the whispers began. Not from the locals, not from the press, but from the air itself. A quiet shift. A change in the luck that had followed them so faithfully into the tomb. It started with Lord Carnarvon, the patron who had funded this entire dream. A mosquito bite on his cheek, a seemingly trivial annoyance in a land full of them. But the bite became infected. The fever did not break. He grew weak, delirious, and in Cairo, just a few months after the tomb was breached, he died. The lights across the city flickered and went out at the exact moment of his death, or so the story goes. It was dismissed as a tragic coincidence, but it was only the beginning. One after another, those who had entered the tomb, who had breathed its stale, sacred air, began to fall ill, some swiftly, some quietly. An archaeologist who had helped catalog the treasures died of a sudden fever back in London. A radiologist who had x-rayed the mummy died shortly after. A visitor to the tomb, a wealthy American, contracted a fever on his boat ride home and never recovered. There were no clear patterns, no single disease. There was only a quiet, unnerving connection: the tomb. The press, hungry for a story more compelling than archaeology, gave it a name: the Curse of the Pharaoh. They wrote of ancient spells, of guardian spirits, of a king's eternal rest being disturbed. The scientists scoffed. They spoke of fungal spores, of latent bacteria trapped in the sealed air, of simple, explainable bad luck. But in the quiet nights of the valley, among the men who still worked under the gaze of the cliffs, another explanation took hold. It was the feeling that the tomb was not just a place of treasure. It was a place of power. And that power, once sealed, did not like to be disturbed. They continued to work, but now with a new kind of reverence, a quiet fear. They were no longer just excavators. They were trespassers in a house that was not theirs. You live with the fear of falling. But there is another fear, a deeper one, that lives in the stone itself. It is the fear that the mountain you are building will unbuild itself. You are placing stones that weigh more than a herd of oxen, one on top of another, reaching higher and higher into the sky. You do not understand the mathematics of it, the precise calculations of the master architects that allow this to be possible. You only understand the weight. You feel it in your own bones as you haul the ropes. You feel it in the ground beneath your feet. Sometimes when a great block is being settled into place, you hear a sound. It is not the familiar crack of a splitting wedge. It is a low, guttural groan from deep within the structure, a sound of stone under a pressure it can barely withstand. The first time you hear it, the blood freezes in your veins. Every man on the worksite stops for just a second and looks up. They are listening, waiting for the groan to turn into a roar, for the mountain to shrug its shoulders and send them all tumbling into oblivion. But it holds, the sound fades, and the work resumes. But the fear remains. You see the master builders inspecting the lower courses, their faces etched with a concentration that is almost a form of prayer. You see them running their hands over the great granite beams that roof the inner chambers, searching for any sign of stress, any hairline fracture. You know that deep inside, in the king's chamber, they have built 5 relieving chambers, stacked one on top of the other, an ingenious design to redirect the colossal weight of the pyramid away from the flat roof of the burial chamber. You do not understand how it works. You only know that it is a testament to how terrified the builders themselves are of their own creation failing. This fear becomes a part of your daily consciousness. You do not talk about it. It is an unspeakable dread. But you feel it. When you are working on the upper levels, you are keenly aware that you are standing on the labor of thousands of men and millions of tons of stone, all held in a delicate, impossible balance. You have put your faith in the knowledge of the architects, in the wisdom of the priests. But you are a man of stone. You know that stone, given enough time and enough pressure, always breaks. And you cannot help but wonder if this great house of eternity, this staircase to the gods, is one day destined to collapse under the weight of its own ambition. The rope is your most constant companion. It is rough, woven from papyrus fibers, and it digs into your palms, leaving them raw and bleeding. And yet you trust it with your life. More than that, you trust the men who hold it with you. When you are part of a hauling gang, you are no longer an individual. You are a single link in a long human chain. You stand in line, the thick rope slung over your shoulder. In front of you is a man's back, slick with sweat. Behind you is another man, his breath hot on your neck. You do not need to see their faces. You know them by the rhythm of their breathing, by the way they shift their weight, by the sound of their bare feet on the ground. The overseer begins his chant. It is not a song, it is a pulse, a command that your bodies obey without thought. On his call, you all lean forward, a single wave of muscle and will. The rope goes taut. The strain is excruciating. Your world narrows to this single point of effort, the burning in your shoulders, the ache in your thighs, the raw friction of the rope against your skin. In this moment, your life depends entirely on the man in front of you, not letting go. And his life depends on you. If one man stumbles, the whole line is compromised. If one man gives up, the weight becomes unbearable for the rest. So you hold, you pull, you match your pace to the man beside you, you match your breath to the chant. This shared struggle creates a bond that is deeper than words. You may not know the name of the man whose sweat is dripping onto your shoulder, but you know his strength. You have felt it in the tension of the rope. You have relied on it to survive the day. At night in the barracks, this bond continues. You share your bread with the man who took the heavier share of the load when you were faltering. You listen to his stories of his village. You laugh at his crude jokes. You know that tomorrow you will stand on that rope together again, your lives intertwined by a few strands of woven fiber. This is a brotherhood born not of battle, but of labor. It is a quiet, unspoken trust. You are all small, replaceable parts of a great machine. But on the rope, you are not just a part. You are the machine itself. Your combined strength is what moves the mountain. And in that shared effort, in that unified rhythmic pulse of bodies working as one, you find a strange and powerful sense of belonging. The rope does not just bind you to the stone, it binds you to each other. After a lifetime, it seems the day arrives. The pyramid has reached its final height. It is a staggering, breathtaking mountain of stone, its peak so high it seems to scrape the belly of the sky. And now there is only one stone left to place. The pyramidion, the capstone. It is not like the other stones. It is a thing of beauty and reverence. A perfectly shaped pyramid, in miniature, carved from the finest, whitest limestone, and the whispers say sheathed in pure gold or electrum, a shining alloy of gold and silver. It is not a block. It is a jewel. It is the point where the pharaoh's soul will begin its ascent to join Ra in his solar bark. It is the eye of the god on earth. Its journey to the top is the most sacred and ceremonial of all. The work on the plateau comes to a halt. For the first time in years, the air is not filled with the clamor of construction. A deep, humming silence falls over the thousands of workers. You stand with the masses at the base, your neck craned, your eyes fixed on the summit. You watch as the most elite team of masons and engineers begins the final, terrifying ascent, guiding the capstone up the last stretch of the ramp. It is agonizingly slow. The golden point glints in the sun, a tiny, brilliant spark against the deep blue of the sky. The entire world seems to hold its breath. As it nears the top, the priests begin their chants. Their voices rise in a powerful chorus, a hymn to Ra and to the eternal spirit of the pharaoh. The smell of sacred incense drifts across the plateau. The sound of trumpets cuts through the air, sharp and clear. And then it is done. The capstone is lowered into place. It settles perfectly, the final piece of a puzzle, 20 years in the making. For a moment, there is absolute silence, a stillness so profound you can hear your own heart beating. Then, the sun catches the golden tip. A flash of light so brilliant it is blinding erupts from the summit. It is as if a new star has been born. And from the crowd below, a sound erupts, a roar. A single unified wave of sound from 10,000 throats, a release of all the pain, all the sweat, all the loss, all the years. It is a sound of completion, of awe, of a triumph so immense it feels divine. The pyramid is no longer a construction site. It is a sacred object. It is complete. It is perfect. And you, a builder of this wonder, are a witness to its birth. You stand at the edge of the plateau, looking out over what you have built. You thought you were building a single tomb, but now, as the dust settles, you see the truth. You have built a city, a silent stone metropolis for the eternal life of one man and his court. The Great Pyramid is its heart, but it does not stand alone. Around it, like loyal subjects, are the smaller pyramids for the pharaoh's queens, perfect in their own form, but forever humbled by the scale of his. And beyond them, stretching out in neat, orderly rows, are the mastabas. These are the flat-roofed rectangular tombs for the high officials of the court, the vizier, the high priests, the generals, the nobles who were closest to the king in life and who will serve him in death. You walk through the streets of this necropolis. The layout is a grid, as ordered and precise as the pharaoh's power. There are main avenues and side streets all paved with stone. But there are no homes, no markets, no sounds of life. There are only tombs, hundreds of them. Each one is a house for a soul, a doorway to the underworld. You helped build this city. You hauled the stones for these mastabas. You paved these silent streets. You have spent your life constructing a community that will never have a living inhabitant. Its citizens are spirits. Its ruler is a mummy. You see the craftsmen still at work carving the final reliefs on the walls of the mortuary temple. They depict the pharaoh making offerings, hunting in the papyrus marshes of the afterlife, and sitting in judgment with the gods. These are not just pictures. They are a living reality for the king's Ka, his spirit double. The temple is his eternal palace, and these images are the eternal actions he will perform. There is a profound and eerie silence here. It is a place built with the sweat and blood of thousands of living men, but it was never intended for them. It was built for the gaze of the gods alone. You are a trespasser in the afterlife you helped create. You feel like a ghost wandering through a city of other more important ghosts. You have built a perfect, orderly, and eternal world, but it is a world in which you have no place. Your own grave will be a simple pit in the sand far from this sacred ground. The great work is finished. The city of the dead is complete. There is nothing left to build. You are now a man in his middle years, and you take stock of what the pyramid has given you and what it has taken away. You look at your hands. They are not your own. They are the hands of a stranger, thick-scarred and twisted. The fingers are permanently curled from decades of gripping ropes and mallets. The knuckles are swollen knots of bone. The skin is a patchwork of pale scars from burns and dark lines from cuts that never quite healed right. These hands have lifted and shaped a mountain, but they can no longer close into a gentle fist. You feel your back. It is a landscape of pain. There is a deep, permanent curve to your spine that will never straighten again. You have seen it in all the older men who have survived this long. The Giza bend, some call it. It is the posture of a life spent leaning into a heavy load. Every morning it takes you a few moments to uncramp your body to force it into a standing position, each movement accompanied by a chorus of clicks and groans. You run your tongue over your teeth, what is left of them. They are ground down, worn flat by the sand in your bread. Some have fallen out, the rest are loose. Eating is a slow, careful process. You have long forgotten the simple pleasure of a hard bite. And there is the cough, the dry, dusty hack that lives deep in your lungs. It wakes you in the night. It catches you mid-sentence. It is the dust of the quarry, the dust of the plateau, a fine white powder that you will carry inside you until your last breath. These are your wages, not paid in silver or grain, but paid in scars and pain in a body that has been used up. You are a living monument to the construction of the pyramid. Every ache is a stone you hauled. Every scar is a block you set. You were given to the pharaoh as a young, strong tool. Now the work is done, and the tool is worn chipped and broken. You have built a house of eternity for a god, and in the process, you have sacrificed the one body you will ever have. You look at the perfect gleaming pyramid, and then you look at your own ruined hands, and you understand the true cost of forever. You walk along the base of the Great Pyramid as the sun begins to die, painting the western face in hues of orange and purple. The day's heat is gone, and a cool breeze blows from the desert. The plateau is quiet now. Most of the workers have already been sent back to their villages. Only a few remain like you, waiting for final dismissal. In the silence, you hear them. The whispers. It is just the wind, you tell yourself, the wind sighing over the smooth limestone faces. But you know it is more than that. It is the voices of the men who never left. You stand where the great ramp once stood, and you remember the face of Noct, the young man who tripped and was consumed by the sledge. You hear his surprised shout, not in the air but in your memory. You touch a stone on the lower course, and you remember Ippy, your friend, with the loud laugh, who was taken by the cough. You remember sitting with him in the barracks, the sound of his labored breathing. His hands touch this stone. His sweat is mixed with the dust in its cracks. You look up at the dizzying height, and you remember Kim, the man who fell. You remember the shared understanding among the men you do not look down. But he did. And now he is a part of the sand at the pyramid's base. This monument is not just made of stone. It is made of lives. It is a tomb for one king, but it is also a grave for thousands of unnamed men. Their spirits are here. Their ghosts pull on the ropes in your dreams. Their unheard stories are trapped in the silent darkness of the inner chambers. You are a survivor. You lived, but a part of you died here too. The part of you that was young and strong. The part of you that believed you would one day return home unchanged. You are walking through a graveyard, the grandest graveyard in the world. And you knew the names of the dead. The wind whispers again, and this time you do not try to tell yourself it is just the wind. You listen. You let the memories wash over you. This is your final duty, to stand here in the twilight and remember the fallen, to bear witness to the true price of this mountain of stone. The pyramid will stand for eternity, but it will stand on a foundation of whispers. The day finally comes. A scribe reads from a papyrus scroll. Your name is on the list. Your term of service is over. You are dismissed. You are handed a final ration of bread and beer for the journey. There is no ceremony, no word of thanks from the overseer. Your purpose here is fulfilled. You are no longer needed. You turn your back on the plateau. Your hands feel strange, empty, without the familiar weight of a mallet or the rough texture of a rope. You join a small, silent group of other men who have also been released. They are all older now, their faces weathered, their bodies bent. You are all survivors. As you walk, you keep looking back. The Great Pyramid, the monument that has consumed your entire adult life, shrinks behind you. It no longer looks like a chaotic worksite. It is now what it was always meant to be, a perfect, silent, and divine object. It seems impossible that your own hands helped build it. It feels like it was placed there by the gods, and you were just a temporary witness to its creation. The journey back to your village is a journey through memory. You walk through a land that is both familiar and strange. The path is the same, but you are not. You are a different man from the one who walked this road 20 years ago. That man was young, strong, and ignorant of the true meaning of labor and time. You are what is left of him. When you finally arrive at your village, it is a shock. The children you left behind are now grown, with children of their own. Your wife, she is older, her face lined with a different kind of hardship than your own. She looks at you, and for a moment you see a flicker of confusion in her eyes. You are a stranger to her, a ghost returned from the land of the dead. You sit in the small mud-brick house that was once your entire world. It feels small, confining after years of living under the open sky of the plateau. The quiet rhythms of village life, the chatter of neighbors, the bleating of goats, feel foreign after the constant rhythmic roar of the worksite. You have come home, but you are not truly home. A part of you is still there on the plateau, in the dust under the shadow of the great stone mountain. At night, you still hear the phantom chants of the hauling gangs in your dreams. You still feel the phantom ache in your shoulders from the ropes. You have survived. You have returned. But you realize now that you never truly leave the pyramid. You are one of its stones. And a stone once set can never go back to being a part of the mountain it was cut from. You are home, but you are forever a man of Giza. The story you have just lived is not the one that is often told. For centuries, the world has believed a different tale, one painted by Hollywood epics and fueled by the writings of ancient Greek historians, like Herodotus, who visited Egypt long after the pyramids were built. It is the myth that these great monuments were raised by the hands of slaves, by a vast, suffering mass of humanity whipped into submission. But the dust of the plateau tells a different story. The picture of a subjugated slave class toiling under the lash is a powerful one, but the archaeological evidence does not support it. The builders of the pyramids were not foreign slaves. They were Egyptians. They were farmers, laborers, and craftsmen conscripted into a national project during the months when the Nile's flood made their fields unworkable. This was the corvée system, a form of taxation paid not in coin, but in time and labor. It was a duty to the state and to the gods. In the 1990s, archaeologists unearthed the lost city of the pyramid builders Hayt el Gharab, not far from the Giza Plateau. What they found was not a slave camp. They found an organized city, a meticulously planned settlement, with barracks, bakeries, breweries, and storehouses capable of feeding thousands. The skeletons found in the nearby workers' cemetery tell a human story. These men and women suffered from arthritis, spinal injuries, and the extreme physical toll of their work. But many also had healed bones, evidence that they received medical care. Slaves are not typically afforded such treatment. They are disposable tools. These people were not. They were valuable assets to the state, skilled laborers who were housed, fed, and cared for because a dead worker cannot raise a stone. We see their pride in the graffiti they left in hidden corners of the monuments, naming their work gangs the Friends of Khufu, the Drunkards of Menkore. This is not the behavior of an enslaved people. It is the mark of men who, despite the hardship, felt a sense of belonging, of purpose, and of pride in their craft. The truth is perhaps more complex than the myth. They were not slaves, but their lives were not their own. They were part of a state-run machine compelled by a mixture of civic duty, religious belief, and the undeniable power of their God-king. Their labor was a tax, a sacrifice, a life's work. But it was the work of citizens, not of a people in chains. In our modern world, where we have grown disconnected from the true limits of human endurance, it can be tempting to look at the pyramids and believe they could not have been built by human hands. Their scale is too immense, their precision too perfect. And so a new myth was born, the myth of ancient astronauts, of alien engineers who descended from the heavens to raise these mountains of stone. This theory is born from a sense of wonder, but it is a wonder that inadvertently erases the very people it claims to honor. To attribute the construction of the pyramids to an extraterrestrial force is to ignore the most incredible part of the story, the stunning power of human ingenuity, cooperation, and relentless will. The Egyptians did not need alien technology. They had something more powerful: time, mathematics, and an unlimited workforce. They understood principles of engineering that we are still rediscovering. They knew how to use levers to lift immense weights. They knew that wetting the sand could reduce the friction of a sledge, allowing a small team of men to haul a multi-ton block. They aligned their structures to the stars with a precision that modern builders would envy, using nothing more than simple sight lines and observation. Their tools were primitive, soft copper, hard stone, and wood, but their methods were brilliant. They developed a system of project management on a scale that would be daunting even today. They organized tens of thousands of laborers, managed supply chains for food and materials that stretched for hundreds of miles, and maintained a work site for decades, all without the aid of computers or complex machinery. The pyramids are not a monument to a forgotten alien race. They are a monument to us. They are a testament to what humans can achieve when united by a single, powerful idea. To suggest otherwise is to rob the ancient Egyptians of their greatest accomplishment. It is to look at the peak of their genius and credit it to a fantasy because we have forgotten how capable we can be. The mystery of the pyramids is not that they were built by aliens. The mystery is that they were built by people, people like you. So they were not slaves, and they were not helped by beings from the stars. They were men, and because they were men, the cost of building eternity was paid in flesh and bone. This is the truth that is often lost in our admiration of the final, perfect form of the pyramid. We look at the monument and we see the glory of a civilization, the power of a pharaoh, the genius of an architect. But we do not see the thousands of broken bodies that form its invisible foundation. The lives of these builders were consumed by the project. A man could be conscripted in his youth and not return to his village until he was a stooped, graying elder, if he returned at all. The skeletons found in the workers' cemetery at Giza are a silent testament to this cost. They show vertebrae crushed under immense weight, joints worn down by decades of repetitive motion, and bones fractured and poorly healed. They show that the average life expectancy for these men was short, often ending in their 30s or 40s. They gave their bodies to the stone. And what was it for? To build a house for a dead king. A house he would occupy alone. A house designed to protect his body and his treasures for an eternity he would never see. The contrast is staggering: the eternal divine glory of one man built by the brief, painful, and anonymous lives of thousands. This is the uncomfortable truth at the heart of so many of the ancient world's wonders. They are beautiful, yes. They are awe-inspiring. But They are also monuments to a brutal hierarchy where the lives of the many were considered a worthy sacrifice for the legacy of the few. We remember the pharaoh's name, but not the 10,000 hands that bled for it. The true cost of the pyramids was not measured in stone or gold, but in human years. In the quiet grief of the families left behind, in the chronic pain of the men who survived, in the names and stories that were never recorded lost to the dust of the plateau. The pyramid is a symbol of eternal life, but it is a symbol that was purchased with countless finite ones. It is easy to look back at the world of the pyramid builders and see it as a distant, brutal past, a world of gods and kings that has no connection to our own. But the echoes of that world are still with us. The human drive to build something that outlasts us, something monumental, has not changed. We still build our own kinds of pyramids. We build towering skyscrapers of glass and steel that pierce the clouds. We build massive dams that hold back rivers and reshape landscapes. We build sprawling stadiums for our own modern rituals of sport and entertainment. And these megaprojects, just like the pyramids, are often built on the backs of a vast and sometimes exploited labor force. We may have better tools, safer conditions, and labor laws, but the fundamental dynamic is often the same: a grand vision conceived by the powerful, built by the hands of the many, whose individual sacrifices are often overlooked in our admiration of the final product. We celebrate the architect of a new skyscraper, but we do not know the names of the ironworkers who balanced on the high steel beams. We cheer in a new stadium, but we rarely think of the migrant laborers who toiled in harsh conditions to build it. We marvel at the technology in our hands, but we forget the workers in distant factories who assemble it for wages that barely sustain them. The state still marshals immense resources for projects of national pride. The powerful still seek to leave a legacy carved in stone or steel. And ordinary people still trade their time and their bodies for a wage, hoping for a better life, or simply to survive. The story of the pyramid builder is not just a story about ancient Egypt. It is a story about power, about labor, about the human cost of greatness. It is a reminder that behind every great monument there is a human story, a story of sweat, of sacrifice, of pain, and of a quiet, enduring pride. It is a story that is still being written today in the heart of our own modern world. The tools have changed, but the dream of building for eternity and the human price of that dream remains the same. So you return to your village. You are free. Your service to the God King is complete. But the freedom feels hollow, like an empty chamber in the heart of the great tomb. You walk the familiar paths of your youth, but you are a stranger here. The people look at you with a mixture of respect and pity. You are the man who built the pyramid. You are the man who survived. But you are also the man who never truly came back. You try to return to the life you once knew. You try to work the fields, but your back, curved and broken by the stone, will not allow it. You try to tell stories of your time on the plateau, but the words fail you. How can you explain the sound of 1,000 men chanting? How can you describe the fear of standing on the edge of the sky? How can you make them understand the weight of a single stone, a weight you still feel in your soul? Your children are grown. They have their own lives, their own families. They look at you with a kind of distant reverence, but they do not know you. You are a figure from a story, a living relic of a project they cannot comprehend. You are a monument in your own right, a testament to a life given to a single, immense purpose. But like all monuments, you are silent and you are alone. Was it worth it? You ask yourself this question in the quiet hours of the night. Was your life, your pain, your sacrifice a worthy offering? You look towards the distant horizon where you know the Great Pyramid stands its golden tip, catching the first light of dawn. It will stand for thousands of years. It is eternal. Your name will be forgotten. Your bones will turn to dust. But it will stand. You do not know if that is an answer, but it is the only one you have. But you are not that man. You are not there in that small mud brick house, your body aching with the memory of stone. That world is a ghost, an echo in a story. You are here, now, safe in your bed. Feel the softness of the mattress beneath you. It is not the hard-packed earth of a worker's barracks. It is soft, it is yielding, It holds you. Feel the weight of your blanket. It is not the rough, scratchy linen of a laborer's cloak. It is warm, and it is light. There is no dust in the air you are breathing. The air is cool, and it is clean. It fills your lungs with peace. The sounds you hear are not the clang of mallets or the shouts of an overseer. It is only the quiet hum of your own home. The sound of silence, a luxury the builder never knew. Let go of the tension in your shoulders. There are no ropes to pull. Let go of the ache in your back. There are no stones to carry. Let your hands relax. They are not curled around a tool. They are open. They are at rest. You are no longer on the plateau. The sun has set on that world. The dust has settled. The story is over, and you are safe. You are not there anymore. But the pyramid is. It stands in the desert under the same moon and stars that you see now. It has stood there for thousands of years through the rise and fall of empires, through wars, and famines, through the slow, patient grinding of time. It holds the silence of the king's chamber. It holds the whispers of the men who built it. It waits. It does not need you. It does not need anyone. It is a thing of eternity, a mountain of human will, a silent witness to all that is past. It waits in the cool of the night, and it will wait for the warmth of the morning sun. It waits in silence as it always has. So let your own body be still. Let your mind be quiet. There are no quotas to meet. There is no work to be done. There is only this moment, this peace, this quiet darkness. Rest now. You have earned it. Rest.